stream. Okay. Okay, guys, let me know if it's working. W, someone's in there already, but just let me know, guys, is it working? If you're on there, just to let me know if it's working on that, that'd be awesome. Okay. I actually forgot to put the last one on the as a link, but I'll do it now. It didn't make a difference actually. We still had everyone turned up, so but we'll do it anyway. Oh my god, going south, stop being a simp.
So there's this one post that did a really thorough recap of what's happened in day 23. If you want me to read it,
1
it's
second.
pretty interesting. After you do your thing.
Yeah, let me just say this. Okay, so YouTube live and join the conversation. Oh sweet, everyone's come. That redirect, as much as I tag Rosie all the time, at least that redirect thing was actually banging. Okay, sweet, everyone's saying it's working. Okay, and I'll put that in the nest. Okay, sorted. Okay, where were we on? Let me just quickly give some news, 1 second. Okay. There we go. Okay. Okay, big news. Severe explosions at US Army headquarters in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. Several severe explosions have been reported at Prince Sultan Air Base in southern Riyadh. Some sources report drone and missile attacks on the base in Kuwait. After the warning siren sounded, the sound of several explosions were heard at the US headquarters in the country. Okay, we're live on. Let me just quickly tweet this out. Okay, let's go to 1 second. Let me tweet this out. Okay. Okay, where were we? Okay, yeah, Katie, go ahead.
Hey, thank you for allowing me to speak, and always great discussion. Really appreciate the people that you have on your spaces, and I'm usually a listener and great to listen to. Silver Sailor came up a little bit bit ago, and was talking about how our troops have rights, and I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. Especially in relation to targeting power plants that could impact millions and millions of civilians. A lot of discussion over these past couple months have come up about, unlawful orders, and there was what we called the Seditious Six here in the United States. Some 6 senators and retired, I think, military intelligence professionals made this commercial about, unlawful orders, and the law is clear for our military members that unlawful orders are not optional. We follow the Uniform Code of Military Justice, the UCMJ, and it's the foundation of military justice in our armed forces. And there's an article in there, Article 92, and it punishes failure to obey, and it specifically says lawful orders. And that qualifier, lawful, is deliberate because service members are trained that an order is unlawful if it violates the U.S. Constitution, federal law, international treaties that we've ratified, or the law of armed conflict. And if an order is manifestly illegal, so an example would be requiring someone to commit a war crime, such as bombing a power plant that impacts millions and millions of civilians, the service member not only may refuse it, they're obligated to. They must. Obeying it can make them personally criminally liable. And, we like to throw out that maybe this is some liberal invention, this is the liberals and that whole seditious six claim and them going after Senator Mark Kelly. But it's taught at every professional military education course. It's taught in every basic training across all services. And the foundation of it comes directly from the Nuremberg trials after World War II, because the Nazi officials and the military officers claimed that they were just following superior orders. And the International Military Tribunal rejected that defense. And that's where we developed the Nuremberg principles. And one of them specifically states that the fact that a person acted pursuant to an order of his government or of a superior does not relieve him from responsibility under international law, provided a moral choice was in fact possible to him. So, in other words, you are personally accountable. So, if you know you're going to go strike a target and it's going to be a power plant and it's going to impact millions of civilians, you cannot just say, I was ordered to do it. And they frequently teach this in professional military education that in the military that it's not a get out of jail free card for atrocities. They talk about that all the time, that orders are not get out of jail free cards. And that precedent was deliberately written into all US military training, all basic training, all professional military training, so that future generations of Americans, American service members specifically, would not repeat the moral failure of blindly obeying illegal commands. And so if you were to target a civilian plant, so one of the ones I was just Googling it in Damavand is in Tehran. And, if they hit that, it would impact millions and millions of Iranian civilians. And if the target does not qualify as a legitimate military objective under the law of armed conflict, or if the strike would cause excessive harm to civilians relative to any anticipated military gain, the order may be unlawful. So service members are trained, especially those who create targeting profiles. So once they go through a whole targeting process when they're going to strike something, and that consideration of it being a lawful target is built into that targeting process. And service members are trained to evaluate the distinction separating civilian from military targets, proportionality. So proportionality being that, if it's more proportional damage to civilians than it is damage to military, then it has a negative proportionality, which means it should not be a target. And then military necessity. What does this help us achieve in that military category? And so that any individual who pulls the trigger, approves the mission, approves it for the targeting list, all of that, they can all be held criminally responsible. And the training is explicit. You are not shielded just because you were given an order or just because your chain of command said so. So, a lot of these military members, they're afraid that, well, I'll disobey an order. But it's very important to remind them that Article 92, it says an unlawful or a lawful order. You can only be charged if you disobey a lawful order. And unfortunately, because of what happened with the seditious six, and that was eventually dropped, but it was kind of quiet. What we saw was, a combat pilot, someone who flew in the Gulf War, has this tremendous record that they were at risk of losing their pension. And I don't necessarily agree with how they went about sending their message, because I don't think that was the best way to do it. I think educational, there's different educational ways they could have done that. But unfortunately, it set a precedent that to our troops to almost kind of scare them that if you disobey an order, if you think you can disobey an order, whether it be lawful or unlawful, like we're going to come for you. And that dangerous precedent, leading into this Iranian war, is very concerning for our troops, especially after what Trump said today about those power plants. So I just wanted to add that context. I think a lot of people have brought that up about it being an illegal order and the military, the proportionality and the necessity. But I just felt like coming up and adding some context about how our military troops can be educated in what their rights are in that regard. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
Appreciate that.
Katie, can I add on to that, Sully?
Yeah, you can. I was about to say, I appreciate your comments there, Katie. Katie, thank you so much. Go ahead, Andrew.
Yes, Katie, thank you for clarifying that. Thank you for speaking up on that. And you nailed that there, young lady. You nailed it. Yeah, she's absolutely right. That's indoctrinated into us repeatedly. And I just want to say, Katie, if you could, I'm sure I know you're very aware of what happened in Quantico when Trump and Hegseth had that, I call it humiliation ritual, and how they were beating down those flag officers and base commands NCOs. And my point is if you could just real quick weigh in on that, on how they were systematically trying to desensitize them into you follow the MAGA cult. I had that takeaway. Did you have that, or I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what's your takeaway connecting the dots with that humiliation ritual at Quantico?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I actually just wrote my first article on X, and I wrote it about what I just talked about. I thought about including that part about what happened at Quantico. So for those of you guys aren't familiar, like they had this, it was reported all the military generals in the armed forces are going to be at Quantico and stuff. And when it really it is kind of like an indoctrination to. Um, remove the training that you've had. That's what I took away from it. I was more optimistic at the time. I think I'm blindfold optimistic person that like, oh, they don't mean it like this. I can't be blindly optimistic anymore, looking back on what's transpired and what's happened to Iran and the Iranian people. I definitely think that that was an attempt to um, almost erase um, the lawful part out of Article 92. I think that if they could, they would change Article 92 to remove lawful orders. And that's very concerning. And um, the fact that they went after a combat pilot too with the whole Mark Kelly situation, that's a person that understands what it means to put a bomb on a target and understands the damage that they're going to do. And the parallels of what we're talking about today and both the Quantico meeting and what happened with Mark Kelly, they just can't be ignored, and it's very concerning. And we have to hope that that if this does, there's so many reckless words and rhetoric going around that we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if this is just another. I think Suleiman was talking earlier about the art of the deal, and what are they trying to do? What is he trying to do here? And but I think at this point we have to assume that these words are real and that this could happen. And so that's why we have to continue to educate our military personnel about their rights. And that's going to take a great moral courage on their part if it does come down to that and they choose to do this. Unfortunately, in moments where moral courage is required, you're going to find that for the one person that won't do it, there might be 9 people that will. And so it probably will come to fruition, and those people are going to have to face their fate. It might not be immediately, but we've seen time and time again that in situations like this, fate does come. It does reach you eventually. It might reach you in the next administration. It might reach you down the road. But the world is not going to react kindly to us taking out civilian power plants. We're already starting to see our allies turn, and it's very concerning. And, I felt today, I don't know if anyone, I don't know how many people were going to listen to me today or how many people I would be able to reach with my posts. But to me, if I can reach one military member and re-educate them on, hey, these are your legal rights, and this is what this means, and this is this is where it stemmed from, like the Nuremberg trials. Like you learn this in basic training, you learn this in professional military education. If I could just reach one person, I will be happy, because we have to, as the person who inspired me to come up and talk, I can't remember their name, I said at the beginning, but Silver,
Silver
anyway,
Sailor.
whoever it was, yeah, Silver Sailor, about that our troops have rights. I just want them to know they absolutely do. They absolutely do. And you need to remember those rights, and you need to remember what you're taught. And don't get caught up in the moment. Don't get caught up in the glory of the situation. Anyway, I'll land it there, but I hope that answers your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Keep fighting the good fight.
I'm going to take this moment real quick to remind everybody to like that short that Suleiman just put out. Go in and hit that like button. It's just a short. And the thing about these shorts is that they're not that long and they're chock full of so much information. So go ahead and hit that like button on that short. And guys, if anybody hasn't subscribed to Suleiman's channel yet, I'm not sure why you haven't, but we have a whole bunch. Well, maybe you're new to the space, which is a good thing. I'm glad that you're here. Welcome to all newcomers. And you want to hit the link above Suleiman and Beatrix and Joe's head to go subscribe to Suleiman's channel. Hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. That's how you know that Suleiman has put out a new video. Mad video. Suleiman did so many interviews today. I really like the one that you did with that Levins guy. I can't remember his first name, but he gave me hope. He said in the Bible Belt that people are finally starting to ask questions about who's running the show, because we're in this war. This is in the South, the Bible Belt. The people who say bless Israel in order to be blessed, now they're asking questions. That when I heard that this morning, I was like, oh, God is so good. So thank you for that interview, Suleiman. Suleiman's been kicking it, guys. So to support him is nothing. Subscribing and hitting that notification bell is the best thing you do to support. And don't forget that the like button on the short. Back to you guys.
Yo, Casey, let me ask you a question though. What's your, just like from, because you've been like kind of, obviously you were like an extreme MAGA, but then you jumped off the MAGA position for quite a while. The polling was, oh, Beatrix is laughing at you, bro. Anyway, I'll allow that. But
Didn't vote for him though, unlike your co-host. But anyway,
my co-host didn't do, well, I was about to say my co-host didn't do 1,800 spaces on him, but then one of my co-hosts did, so it's kind of complicated one. But anyway, Casey, anyway, the polling shows that MAGA is in support of Trump. I think Trump said, CNN one said 100% support, but obviously we know that's fake. But the point is, there is a lot of MAGA people who do support him in this. Do you think that polling's fake, or do you think that there is still that huge amount of support for what he's doing?
so look, I'm glad you asked me this question. Thank you. So first off, it's not that I think the
I'm
polling.
glad that you're glad.
So it's not that I think the polling is fake, but I think that you can drum up numbers to look however you want them to, right? Like you could say 100% of MAGA is supporting this. Well, yeah, maybe the 10 MAGA people that you asked, they probably do support it, and there's your 100. You know what I mean? So that's how I feel about these polls. I do know that there are people, if anybody's still really calling themselves this MAGA, as in the MAGA that follows Trump MAGA, I believe they are supporting him. They are, because they have nothing else. They put everything on him. They put their whole faith on Trump. And they thought Trump was going to save the country. Okay, so they believe that this is part of the plan. Trust the plan, 5D chess or whatever. What I'm praying is that there's not that many of that MAGA left. The term "Make America Great Again," any one of us could say, yeah, we definitely want to make America great again. And telling the truth and being brutally honest about what's going on in America is how you start to make it great again. But these people who are MAGA, Trump, MAGA, yeah, they put everything on Trump, and yeah, they are supporting it, and then they're going along being told lies. Remember, we saw too this push, and you still see it on especially on this app, this Muslim hate of not compatible with the West, and all of this. And so we all knew, like, there's a propaganda happening here because there's a war coming up. But these people, they they believe that, so Trump is going to save us from the Sharia law. I mean, it's a shame. You still have people who believe that. So they have to hold on to it. I don't know what's going to happen to them when they finally see that that's not what's happening. I don't know. But the people who have left MAGA, I don't think they get pulled. I'll put it that way, because no pollsters talk to me, but, But your interview today, I don't know why I think his name is Ethan. I'm so sorry, I forgot his name. But listening to you guys speak and his Southern drawl, and he's saying there's people down here who are asking questions, and he's like, and there's the Bible Belt, and they're like, wait, what is going on? And I'm like, break it. Yes, break the chains. Free yourself. You do not need to bless Israel in order to be blessed. We don't need to go to war with Iran. This country doesn't look blessed. Free yourself. So you gave me a lot of hope with that interview. Check it out, guys. Make sure y'all check out the interview.
That's that's coming out. That's being released tomorrow. But Ethan Levens you're talking about, and actually I'm glad you brought him up, because he actually pulled out with the golden tweet just now, which I quote tweeted, and he wrote, it's so funny, this guy, bro. Like, he's good, bro. I'm so glad I interviewed him. He wrote, after watching Iran strike the Dimona nuclear facility, it really worries me that they will target the Sorek nuclear facility and the Palmachim air base. The base holds Jericho missiles and F-16 fighter jets that carry the nuclear-capable Popeye cruise missile. And then he's showing on Google the specific location of it, which is hilarious.
Oh my God, yeah, this guy is brilliant. Nice tweet. And I'm going to add him to my prayers, but God is good. Shout out to him. Yeah. Well, when you put out the video, make sure y'all watch it. It was a very good interview.
Yeah, he's a funny guy for sure. You're doing great.
He's fearless. I'll tell you that. He's fearless.
For reals. Oh, so
Casey, you know that... Sorry, Sullivan, go ahead.
No, that was oh my God, Beatrix, that was flipping. That's the InfoWars chill, the Alex Jones stooge, bro. That wasn't me.
No, it wasn't you.
Sorry.
I just want to say, Casey, you know that Zaya, I think it's the Inevitable West, the one that was proved to be in India, done a tweet today saying pray for Israel. And one of the guys, Ahmed Hassan, posted underneath, that's why you're seeing what you're seeing tonight. Literally, we have been praying for Israel, and our prayers are coming true.
Wait a minute. Inevitable West is it Zaya? No, you lying.
Hey, I just want to wait.
Oh, you're talking about the other guy. Okay, I know who you're talking about. Okay, I'm sorry. I had to make sure, because you know what? I thought you were talking about our homie who comes up here. I'm like, wow. Okay, yes, and that is, yeah. You're right. That is a good response to that. Look, I don't want to see anybody get hurt, but look, this infrastructure, I will say, it all needs to be taken down. The whole infrastructure, it has to go. It has to go.
Bish bash bosh, Matt, how are you?
Bish bash bosh.
Good, Beatrix. Chicks are crazy. Hey, you come in here. You tried to bomb our country, and no, I just wanted to talk about that poll.
Oh my God, Matt, that sounds nothing like me. What are you doing?
What are you doing? Oh my God! Anyway, I'm just having fun, but I think that poll is completely.
Matt, how's your boy Alex Jones? Is he supporting this war or not?
No, he was against this war before it even started. Yeah, he's actually started going anti-Israel pretty heavy.
He just helped with all the propaganda towards it.
No. I mean, he was always against the war. But yeah, he was definitely hesitant on the Zaya front. But he's actually now come out and said that Israel is now the #1 threat above China, above the Chi-Coms.
Swear down, blood. I've always liked his son. I think his son's great. He's on point about everything. But Alex Jones, obviously, I disagree with him on a lot. But yeah, it's good to see he's come around.
Believe it or not, he's coming around. It's hard to have that position anymore. And I mean, you guys should get a medal. I mean, if you're not getting paid by any kind of Muslim Brotherhood, you should be. I mean, think about all of the work you guys have done.
Matt, you need to jump in. You're too behind, bro. They don't like us. So the Muslim Brotherhood HT in the UK hate me, and Qatar we be celebrating them get hit. So what you bro? What you say? We're definitely not getting hit, but played by them.
Whoever's behind the Iranian situation, I mean, the
Oh, the
amount of work you guys
IRGC.
have done, and I mean that in the best way. Honestly, I'm not being a dick. The amount of work you've done to fight against the propaganda is amazing and incredible. The amount of hours you guys put in, the fact that you're on here constantly, real time, fighting propaganda, and the amount of people, including myself, that you guys have woken up, and that then spreads out to millions and millions of other people, to where most of the people I know that are pretty much tuned in or on X, unless they're getting paid, are completely over this war and have definitely started turning on Trump and are completely disgusted, to be honest. I think the way they got those poll numbers were, I think they basically call people and they say, "Hey, do you support Trump? Are you MAGA? You know, this and that." And then they ask them if they like the war, because most of the people that are over the war have already turned their backs on the whole thing. So they would have started the conversation with, "Do you support Trump?" You'd be like, "No." You know, "Do you consider yourself MAGA now?" I'd be like, "No." And they're like, "Oh, well, then you don't like the war." But the people are like, "Yeah, I love Trump, and yeah, I'm totally MAGA," without question. Then they're like, "Oh, do you support the war?" They're like, "Oh my God, it's the greatest thing ever," right? So I
Wait, why are you making it look like all Trump fans are as smart as me?
learn
You're rubber banding, Matt. You're rubber banding.
Sorry. Am I back or no?
Yes, B.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm driving, so I don't know. I might be coming in and out of service or whatever. I just had to weigh in on that. There's no way it's 99%. It's just absolutely not even close to that. I mean, it's at least 25% of people voted that were hardcore Trump support. I would say 50% of the people that I hang out with that were pro-Trump, at least 50% are over it. And they're the ones who are paying attention, that aren't just watching Fox and listening to fucking McLevin, we gotta go to war, gotta go to war for Israel, get in the trenches, get in the trench, Graham. We are the chosen people. You don't like Mark Levin?
Not really, no. And then he dropped. That's hilarious. Okay, let's go to Tom and then we'll go to Tony.
Man, they took him out right away. Anyway,
As soon as he
yeah,
mentioned Mark
Levin,
Levin,
what a character, this guy.
he got taken out.
Yeah, man. Mark Levin's a really curious case because you look at him, he looks like a relatively affable fellow, a joyful, tubby individual, but unfortunately, the guy's a total extremist and a maniac. Anyways, yeah, I have a question for Joa. Joa, look, so the other day, yesterday, I heard you talking about the possible directions the situation goes when it comes to inflation, and even worse scenarios that could potentially rear their ugly head as a result of this debacle in the Middle East. And it ruined my afternoon, but I was happy to have learned something new. And so for that reason, I wanted to ask you this, man. I know it's a difficult question to answer, obviously, but the question I have for you, brother, is: do you know why we've seen this uptick in the U.S. dollar's valuation in recent days? What exactly caused that? And what would have to happen or not happen for that trend to continue? Or is it a product of chaos factors that simply can't be, cannot really last based on where this conflict is going, whether it goes in the direction of a cessation of hostilities or out of control escalation? If that question was worded well enough for it to make sense, brother, I'd be interested in hearing what your opinion is on that, because I want to know if this trend could continue. I'm guessing the answer is no, but anyway, that's the question.
Yeah, look, it's kind of expected because if you want to buy anything, right? Like if you want to buy gold right now, or if you want to buy Bitcoin or whatever it may be, you're first going to go into cash, and the cash you're going to go into is the dollar, right? So you're going to see an uptick in the dollar. and that's expected. What I would be surprised to see, and it would mean that my theory was wrong, is if the bond sales go well, right? Because then that's America borrowing money. That's the real interest, right? The price fluctuation is not a sign that everyone wants the dollar, right? It just means everyone wants to transact in the dollar. And that happened. I mean, that happened during COVID. The dollar went up because people fly to safety, and safety is, if you're scared, you want the most easily used money on the planet, and that is the dollar. So that doesn't surprise me. What will surprise me is what happens after here. And that's the part I'm more scared about. But first, the dollar will go up before it goes down. When we were talking about inflation yesterday, that would be the normal course. And even I think Dark said the same thing, that we're going to see it go up and then you see it go down because you try to over adjust, which the Fed's already kind of said. You keep attacking oil installations. We're going to raising the rates is not off the table. But then when you look at the market, it's not showing the results of raising rates. This whole thing with what Trump said, oil prices went up because you can't see oil prices, but you can see derivatives. So the derivatives for oil went up 2%. Then they came right back down. Now they're back up again. Like, this market is extremely confused. But the one thing they're not confused about is if they need to buy something, it's going to be in dollars. So that's normal. I wouldn't take that as a sign of anything in all reality. The bonds would be the sign, not the dollar itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, brother. And where would you be looking at if bonds are a major concern that starts to unravel? Where do you think it would start? In the European banks, Japan more likely than anything else, or how do you see
I
it?
mean, they're all connected. Japan's a big worry. Europe, I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't look at the European bond sale too much, to be honest. But Japan and the U.S. is the big issue. If they don't buy the American, you have a problem. If Japan starts having a serious issue, then that's also a problem because all of our leverage is kind of based off Japan's economy. So we use the Japanese carry trade. So it is a bit of a risk. But we'll see how they go. And I'm not a bond expert. I understand how they work, but they typically put out the reports if you look at, bond sales, and you can see. Interesting part will be is, does China keep dumping American bonds? And not just China, kind of everyone around the world is dumping American bonds. That's showing they don't want to trade in the dollar. That's the first chink in the armor, let's say. Yeah, it's a chink in the armor when our bonds aren't selling. And we'll see what the next bond auction's like. China has a weapon, a financial weapon, which is they have a lot of bonds they can still dump, although they've already dumped a lot. They have a lot more they can dump. So they can affect that market highly. That's why I don't see China really wanting a conflict with the US. It doesn't seem like that's what's going on at all.
Cool, Joe. Thank you.
You want to go to Tony Solomon?
Yeah, please.
Has his hands up.
Hey, Solomon, thanks for having me back. Yeah, I just wanted to weigh in again on the poll bit. This is anecdotal, of course, but most of my social network is military affiliated, and I would say, especially with some of these more recent tweets talking about targeting civilian infrastructure, I think the support is tanking rapidly for this war on the military and veteran side, but that's just my read from my anecdotal perspective. I'm also starting to come around on Mark Levin. I was really against the guy, but I think he's doing a really great job at this point because I don't think anybody's doing a better job at turning people against this war than Mark Levin. He's just pissing everybody off so much. Good job, Mark Levin. Keep it up.
That's hilarious. I was thinking, oh, where's he going with this? So I'm gonna have to jump in and debate this IO. But that was a good smash.
Yeah, and I wanted to add the flags in my profile. That's to try to like help my algorithm because, you know, I've said a lot of controversial stuff on here, but as soon as I said stuff against this war or against Israel, I got flagged immediately. So one of my military buddies was like, yeah, put some Israeli flags in your profile and it might help your algorithm. So I'm giving it a shot.
Yeah. Let's go to Derek. Go ahead, Derek.
I just wanted to say, Catherine Austin Fitts pointed out that Iran is a leakage in the control grid of the central
I can't really
bankers.
hear you properly. I don't know if it's me or you're making some weird noise in the background, but I can't hear.
Oh yeah, that must be my janky ass case.
That's your what?
Yeah, my janky ass case, my phone case.
Okay. Well, you playing around with
Yeah,
it or something?
Okay, so I'd like to point out that it was Catherine Austin Fitts a few weeks ago that pointed out that the reason, like the whole entire point of this Operation Epic Fury, is because Iran is a leakage in the what she calls the control grid, like which is like the digital reset / great reset that the central bankers want to do, and they can't allow that. So Iran being able to control its own resources and its own economy is unacceptable. And that's why this whole shit is happening. But like, I would like to know your guys' thoughts on that. Rather, like, you agree with that point or not?
Agree with what?
Agree with the point. Agree with the point that I just stated, like, or her point. Catherine Austin Fitts' point.
I'm not familiar with it.
Just
All right.
repeat it.
Okay, her point was that
I'm familiar with it, and yes, I agree with her 100%.
Yeah, but I'll state it again. Okay, so the central bankers, the elite families of the world, what have you, they want to implement this AI stablecoin / global digital currency dystopia new world order, and Iran is because they're not connected to that system that they implemented. That's a leakage in the system, in Catherine's own words. So what they have to do, they have to get Iran out of the way, and that's why this Operation Epic Fury, this pointless stupid war, is a thing.
So can I add to that a little bit? So I think that there's an element here. It's very complex. We can't like reduce it down to that being the only reason. However, they are not currently a part of the central banking, and so that would be a leak for, let's just say, those that don't want to join. So it's closing a leak. I think that's a contributing factor, but it's definitely true. It's the fact that they're not currently. Well, I think that there was supposed to be something being set up in Oman in terms of there was some negotiation. That was a long time ago, though. I don't think it ever came to fruition. So, but with that being said, I do think it's maybe has more to do with the timing of this than the reason of it, because this has been planned for quite some time.
Yeah, if I can add, it's funny because the outcome. Yeah, I think they're trying to usher in stablecoins, but I don't think Iran is because they don't have a central bank. They're not the only country without a central bank, or at least a.
I mean, yeah, they have this
call it a
CID.
Rothschild central bank. Yeah, but like, how do you get to put it like, in order to change people from fiat to a stable coin, means that you need to think about how America puts everything in, right? Um, how did we get the Patriot Act in, right? It was safety, right? We need to monitor these people and have this act so we can be protected. That's how they usher in everything. Okay. The fiat currency, same Bretton Woods, same thing. Like it's always sold to us as safety, right? And if you have, if they attack Iran and they can crush the banks, and now the banks become unstable, you then can bring in, hey, we've used this system of fractional reserve currency and the banks can't hold up with their fractional reserve. We need a full reserve system. And this is going to be much safer for you. And we're protected because now you have a fully reserved currency instead of a fractionally reserved currency. That's going to be safer for the American people. That's the storyline I think they're going to build. The fact Iran does not have a central bank has nothing to do with that. It's how you usher in the pain for the banks to expose their weakness so that you can then offer a safer solution. That's what I think.
Thanks.
Willa?
Huh?
Sorry?
No, I didn't say anything. I just was asking, like, why such a long silence? At least on my end.
Yeah, no, sorry. I'm trying to actually gift you something super cool, Suleiman, and let me just go ahead and say that I am desperately working to create you a dope ass background for your little podcast that you can overlay. And so that's what I was focusing on. And I mean, if you guys want, you guys should totally super chat him so that he can get some lighting up in there. Look, I'm a female. This is what we do. Okay, we love to decor stuff up and add a little ambiance. You know what I'm saying? And to make them just as badass as the content. We have to have the background
Oh
like
no!
that.
Listen, this whole
I'm
place has
just
got
saying.
no. Listen, this place has got lighting and all that, but it gives me a headache. So I just think like, oh, it's annoying. I just want to put it on. It's got all that stuff. It's got all that jazzy stuff here, but it's just like,
It does?
yeah. But the light. The actual what's it called again? The light that goes above you. When it's on for too long, or even when it's on for a bit of time, it starts giving me a headache. So I'm like, sack it. I'd rather not do it, so I can go for longer.
Well, this is what's so cool though, this overlay that I'm trying to create. So anyway, the only issue I came across is whenever you start sharing stuff in the screen, it might not work for those. But I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a way to figure it out. But for the ones that you haven't, so I've been over
Okay,
here
okay.
working on. But I found some cool ones with like big globe behind you. You know what I mean? Like you're talking
That's
about
funny.
global stuff.
That's hilarious. Thanks for that anyway. Let's go to Willa. Willa, do you want to jump in with something?
Oh, there's breaking news really quickly from
Yeah.
Iran's military. It says the battlefield will become narrower and tougher for the enemy. The spokesperson for the central headquarters of Qatam al Anibia said the battlefield will become narrower and tougher for the enemy, adding that the Iranian commanders have identified vulnerabilities over the past 3 weeks and introduced new offensive tactics and more advanced systems for the next phase of operations. He also claimed that an Israeli F 16 fighter jet was stuck around 4 a.m. in central Iranian airspace by new IRGC Aerospace Force air defense systems operating, under the country's integrated air defense network, adding that upgraded domestic systems will deliver further results. So what'd they do? They froze a whole airplane up there? Is that what I just heard? Um, anyway, I will put this in. I'll send it to you, Sully. I'm sure you're gonna post it if you haven't already.
Yeah, thanks for that. There was some news I was gonna post. And it was some Professor Morandi posted. Here we go. So after Trump posted, if Iran doesn't fully open without threat, the Australia moves within 48 hours. The whole 48-hour threat. Professor Miranda Corte tweeted him and wrote, "What did Trump do? What did Trump do to those little girls?" And there was another post he did, which is, he wrote, "Well, if they talking about, well, if this goes ahead," he wrote, "Well, if they do, the whole region will go dark in less than half an hour, and darkness provides ample opportunity to hunt down U.S. servicemen running for safety." I'm not sure what's the reference to that, but I know there was a post, but I can't find it now. He was saying that if they take out Iran's oil, okay, here it goes. He goes, meaning Arab family dictatorship in the Persian Gulf are finished. No more oil, no more gas, global depression. So, yeah, he's kind of.
Sully,
Yep.
there's I don't know if this just came in 5 minutes ago. I'm trying to fact check it because he doesn't add sources, but it says Iran just bombed the UAE and they blew up one of their biggest national gas and oil refineries. Is that now? I mean, he's saying breaking news.
I don't believe that. That would be. I'm saying the chances of that happening are probably like 0.
0?
Yeah.
Okay, but there's this,
Because
so
there's no way Iran's gonna hit UAE's oil refinery 48 hours within the 48-hour time span that Trump gives. Because then they'll be like, "Oh, they did it first, that's why we did it." Iran would
wait,
never
is
make
it
such a stupid
Israel's? It
mistake.
says, okay, so it's the same guy. He sent 2 back to back, one 6 minutes ago. Actually, both of them 6 minutes ago. This one says Israel's biggest oil facility. I'm about to block him if this is fake.
Yeah, that's
But
not true
he's,
though. Which oil facility?
let me send it to you. That's what,
I mean, unless he's talking like 2 days ago, but then he's like 2 days behind, right?
yeah, he put breaking news. I don't, actually, he's talking in the video, but if I listen to it, then it messes with my audio here, so I don't want to listen to it. But I was just going off the captions. I sent it
He'll
to
just be
you.
posting something old, but posting it out.
I hate when people put breaking news though, and then they do that. That's silly.
Yeah, I think it's because he might have posted on TikTok and then he just like copied the same thing across.
Is it the one in Haifa, Mace? Is that what you're talking about from a few days ago?
It just says Iran has blown up Israel's biggest oil facility. That's it. I didn't. And then one said Israel. The other one I'll send it to. It's said the UAE. Maybe, yeah. These have to be old. But
By the way, I have something to add. If y'all guys don't mind me adding something here.
Yeah, you just need to improve your mic though, because it's echoing quite a bit at the back.
Yeah, sorry. It's like the shitty Android mic. But anyways, back in 1998,
Well,
way...
so obviously I'll let you go now, but then it's going to be difficult because it's really hard to hear what you're saying.
Okay, fine. I'll get on PC. Hold on.
Appreciate that. In the meantime, actually, just want to welcome Myron onto the space. Myron, hope you're doing well. How are you?
Hear me good?
Yeah, real good. How you doing?
Okay, all right. I'm good. I'm adjusting my audio right now as we speak because I already know when I come into Twitter space it gets fucked up. Yeah, no, man. I just wanted to come in. It looks like Israel is getting absolutely decimated right now, which is always interesting to see. I was looking at all the images from Dimona, which obviously, for those that don't know, a very strategic location. That's where their nuclear facilities are, which is kind of comical because if they destroy the nuclear facilities, then that would mean that the Israelis would have to concede and admit that they have a nuclear program, which would be illegal, and then they'd forfeit their ability to get foreign aid from the United States. So interesting situation for them to be on. But I've seen a lot of the Israeli propagandists, Ivan Levy, etc., crying about Israel getting hit in Dimona. So it is what it is. But yeah, very, very interesting to see. I just the one thing I will say is I was watching this idiot today. His name is Max Afterburner. And it's actually shocking. And I'm also was watching The Enforcer, which is another pretty popular YouTube channel. And the thing that's extremely disturbing is they asked him in there, hey, what are your thoughts on Trump threatening to, bomb power plants in Iran? What are your thoughts on him threatening to bomb power plants in Iran? And 50% of the people said it's good and necessary. And I was like, oh my God, holy crap. Like people really don't understand the escalation ladder, and they don't understand that the next step after that is going to be obviously Gulf State infrastructure, Gulf State desalination plants, power grids, obviously oil and gas. And that's going to be a huge escalation. And, you know, if the Iranians wanted, they can literally make the entire Gulf be pitch black. And it's crazy because the United States and Israel don't realize that they're putting their allies in the Gulf region, you know, in peril. And then also the Israelis are going to get hit pretty hard as well. I think at this point, I saw earlier a press conference from the Iranians saying that, you know, they're starting to be a bit more strategic in hitting the Israelis with some pretty hard hardware, which we're seeing with Dimona. And there's no way that the Israelis have more than a week or two of interceptors left. There's no way. So they've depleted a lot of their stock, and their airspace is probably going to be wide open, and it's not going to be good for them. So I don't know why they would even escalate or threaten to escalate knocking out their power plants, because that's going to be really bad for everyone in the region. But you know, it is what it is, man. But yeah, this Max Afterburner guy, to finish what I was going to say with him, he was pushing all the Hasbara. 40,000 people killed during the protests. The 19-year-old wrestler was just a civilian protesting, and he was killed by the evil regime, even though we know he killed police officers and chopped them up with a machete. He was talking about how the Apache helicopters are somehow going to reopen the Strait of Hormuz because they're shooting down drones, which is comical because they literally have hundreds of thousands of drones. And how the ships, they're going to open up the Strait of Hormuz. And I'm like, dude, the ships are not going to sail. They don't want to get fucking bombed. Okay. No one's going to give insurance. But it's just pushing all the Hasbara. There's no other way that he's not getting paid by 7,000 by Israel. But yeah, those are just some of the observations that I've noticed. And yeah, well, I'll turn to somebody else.
Did you see the Myron? Did you see the Trump statement about 48 hours?
Yeah, I did. That's what I was saying. I think that's going to be a big mistake if he actually does bomb power plants. That's going to lead to a major escalation in the region, and the Iranians can really hit the Gulf hard. I think what they might do if they do that, they're going to knock energy and then desalination plants, which we know, for those that don't know, desalination plants are basically used to take salt water and, you know, make it, you know, clean, clear, you know, drinking water. So for the Middle East, that's a problem because, you know, it's in a desert. So, you know, water is, you know, clean, safe water isn't that easy to come by. So that's going to be a problem. You know, it's not like they have like lakes all over the place like we do here in America, if you're living in the Midwest or whatever. So serious fucking problem, serious problem if they hit that power plant. And this is like Trump. Trump is in a rock and a hard place because geopolitically and, you know, and on the escalation ladder, I don't know where he's going to go from here. He's going to have to put boots on the ground, and that's going to be a huge mistake. So I just don't know how he's going to be able to make this happen, because the missiles are going to keep attacking Israel. There's no way they're going to stop the missile cities from operating.
So he's given them 48 hours. They're not going to comply. So what happens?
If he hits a power plant, it's going to be bad for the Gulf and for Israel.
Honestly, I'm asking that. So I guess I'm asking, like, do you think he's going to hit the power plant, or do you think this is just a threat with no substance?
If he did it, it would be the stupidest mistake he could make, because here's the thing. The Iranians did everything that they said they're going to do. They said, if you attack us, we're going to attack you back, and we're going to attack your infrastructure. We're going to attack your energy. Everything that they said that they were going to do, they've done. So if he were to hit a power plant, it would be catastrophic. It would be honestly, he might lose his ability to have a political off-ramp at that point. And he had many off-ramps. But if he actually strikes a power plant, that's it, dude. Gulf is going to get fucked up. Desalination plants are getting fucked up. And they're probably going to hit an Israeli power grid if they did that.
But yeah. I mean, I agree with you on this, but I'm saying, do you think he actually does do that or not? Like, what I'm saying is, let's say he's given the 48-hour warning, Iran doesn't comply. Does he then just say, okay, this wasn't really a threat? But he won't say that, but he'll be like, he'll basically kind of start talking about something else instead and just hope everyone forgets. So I'm saying that, is this just a fake threat, or do you think he really will fulfill it?
I think he's stupid enough to do it, and I'll tell you why. I think he's stupid enough to do it because he might use that for the Marines to invade. Might use it as some fucking strange way for that MEU unit to go ahead and maybe potentially take Khark's Island or whatever it may be. He might use that as cover, but I still would be retarded.
Yeah, I mean, my sources are saying that's confirmed. That's definitely happening. So the
Yeah, they are,
invasion to Carg Island is definitely happening.
which is like foolish. I don't know how that would help. I think that would put our Marines at serious risk. I just don't see like I think it's just extremely dangerous and foolish. I don't know how the hell he thinks that's gonna work.
You yeah, I mean I agree with you. There's no way. But like this is the craziness, like so he's gonna do this energy drama, it's gonna fail. He's gonna escalate to the ground invasion, that's gonna fail. Then what?
I don't know. Like it's crazy to me because I mean Scott Ritter did an interview talking about this, and Scott Ritter was a former Marine, and he even said like it's like that unit that he's putting in, they're not really like a ground force that's designed to like take over land. They're more of like a rescue, search and rescue, containment type squad. Like they're not really for like a full on ground invasion, and it's only like 25 to 4,000 of them. So 2,500 to 4,000 of them. So like I don't know how the fuck like this is gonna work or how it's gonna be beneficial. And then the other thing too, when it comes to boots on ground, I was talking with my audience about this. There's three main ways to enter Iran. Like you can either enter from the west with the Zagros Mountains, which is suicide. You could try to enter in from the north with the Alborz Mountain, which is also suicide, and then the Caspian Sea is almost unsaleable. And then you could try to enter in through the Strait of Hormuz, which is fucking suicide. Robert Pape did an interview with Breaking Points, and they were like showing like the Strait of Hormuz, it's like wide open. Like if you tried to come in and invade through there, like they literally have the high ground. Like I don't know what they would, how the hell they'd be able to safely get troops onto the ground there. It'd be like fucking Normandy times to even worse, storming the Normandy beach. So I don't know, man. This is like I see this quickly escalating to a point where we might not be able to have a return. And it's like we just lose more every day that passes by. We lose another potential political off ramp. Like Trump had many political off ramps to get out of this situation. We can go back to hell, we could go back to 2018. He could have just not pulled out of JCPOA. We would have had oversight of their nuclear program. They don't have nuclear bombs. Done. Right? But he didn't want to do that. He pulls out the nuclear deal. Mike Pompeo puts the IRGC on the foreign terrorist organization list. We sanction the fuck out of them. That obviously gets them angry. They start enriching uranium to a high degree, right? Work it all the way up to 60, 80%, whatever it may be, right? To use it as a negotiating chip because they're like, you know what? We're not going to make the same mistake as Saddam Hussein and Gaddafi. We know that if we don't have some type of nuclear deterrent, that invites aggression from the United States and from Israel. So we're going to be a threshold state. And that's what they did for many years. Biden comes in. Biden tries to reinstitute a Obama nuclear deal, fails. He tries to also negotiate the Abraham Accords, bring Saudi Arabia in. This obviously invites the attack by Hamas, as well as Israeli aggression with the West Bank and Gaza, and they're buying the red heifers. All this other shit came into play as well, right? And then, but Trump comes back in, picks up right where he left off. Iran can't have a nuclear bomb, blah blah blah. When in reality, we could have had a complete situation of the nuclear bomb. He goes into fake discussions with them in June. We attacked them, right? And then, it's kind of crazy because I was watching an interview earlier with the Oman negotiator, and he literally said that the deal that he had in play that they were working towards would have been a better nuclear deal than Obama got. So Trump could have not let the war happen, gotten a better deal than Obama. He could have looked like the president of peace, right? Look, I got a better deal than Obama. He didn't know what he was doing, but I was able to get a better deal with the Iranians. Their nuclear program is done. Right? He could have had that, not had a war, but he got greedy. I guarantee you the Israelis gave him bad intel because we know our intelligence community didn't. Tulsi Gabbard told his dumbass that they didn't have a nuclear bomb and they weren't working towards a nuclear bomb. His intelligence community told them that they didn't have a nuclear bomb and attacking the Ayatollah would probably just make them rally around the flag. And he attacked anyway. So I guarantee you when dumbass Netanyahu came back like a month or two ago and they had that discussion, he probably gave them really bad intel from the Mossad, said, look, you took over Venezuela. We could do the same with Iran. We hit them hard. It's going to be a victory. Trust me. We'll attack them on Saturday. By Monday, they'll be at the negotiating table in Oman, and we'll fucking get them to completely renege on nuclear, and they're going to stop their ballistic missile program. We're going to destroy them. Okay, cool. Monday comes around. The Iranians are shooting missiles into the U.S. bases. Radars are getting destroyed. Soldiers are getting fucking bombed. Israel's getting hit. And now he's put himself into a horrible situation. He thought this was going to be quickly done, and it wasn't. And how do we know this? Because we have proof. Marco Rubio admitted that we got involved in an attack because the Israelis are going to attack, and it was inevitable. And we knew that they would retaliate against both of us. So Marco Rubio, snitched. Then we knew that the Trump administration clearly didn't have a plan. How do we know this? Because the war was supposed to last a couple of days. They admitted this, right? And then it lasted longer. And then now Trump, Hegseth, Kane, they're all giving different reports to the media, being extremely, nebulous in their phrasing and what they're saying, etc. We know that the war also was coming because if you guys remember, they had that intel meeting with members, senators and stuff like that. And I forget who it was. Was it, the Jewish congressman, the Democrat? Somebody can help me out here. Who was it that came out that said, this is a big problem and this is a big issue and they were really concerned? Somebody help me out
Was it
here.
Chuck Schumer?
Chuck Schumer.
Or is it Chris Murphy? Is it Murphy?
Maybe Murphy too, but I think it was I think it was Schumer, if I'm not mistaken. He came out and said this is a big problem, and like this is Trump needs to talk to the American public.
Yeah, that was
right?
Schumer.
That was Schumer. So and that's all he said. Like literally, like 2 or 3 seconds. Like Trump needs to talk to the American public. Like this is crazy. And then a couple of days later, boom, we're bombing him. So so Trump had many political off ramps here since fucking 2018, since he came into presidency in 2016, and he didn't take any of them. And now here we are. His hubris from the Venezuela operation. He thought he'd be able to get a quick win in Iran, and then he thought he'd be able to come back in Cuba because this was the plan. The plan was to take Maduro. Taking Maduro would cripple Cuba energy-wise. After Cuba's crippled energy-wise, let them rot for a few weeks. In that meantime that they're rotting and suffering without power, we go to Iran, take them over. Then once Iran capitulates, we come back to Cuba, have them come to the negotiating table, and we're able to knock out 3 of our adversaries within a couple of months. It didn't work out that way, clearly, though, because now he's locked us into a protracted war that is going to be a nightmare. And quite frankly, the only way that you're going to win this war is by putting boots on the ground. Now, I know some of you guys are saying, well, Myron, why do we need to put boots on the ground now? I'll tell you why. Because there's no way that the Gulf states are going to allow us to maintain our footing and our bases in the Gulf unless we take out the regime. Okay? Because here's the thing. The regime has already given out their requirements, their demands, which is 3 main things. Number 1, lift the sanctions. Number 2, pay reparations. Number 3, leave the region. And then number 4, which is, I guess this one kind of goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. Recognize Iran's sovereignty and their ability to defend themselves and stop aggression. Those are the 4 things that they want. We know that Trump is not going to capitulate to any of those. But the problem here is that in order for the Gulf states to allow the United States to stay there, right, they need to they need to get the regime out of there because the regime is going to continue to attack them if the American bases are in the Gulf. And let's be honest, if you're a Gulf state monarch, right, from Saudi Arabia or Oman or, UAE, whatever, all these Gulf states are weak. So it's like they don't really have a real military, right? They have American F-35s that they can't even fucking fly without our permission. And they got a mediocre military. They can't really defend themselves. The whole purpose of us being there in the Gulf is to protect them. So if we're there to protect them, but we're not even protecting them, like what incentive do they have to allow us to stay there? So the reality is that if we want to maintain our footing in the Middle East, which a big part of the America's military infrastructure is projecting power, right? Pete Hegseth talks about this all the time. The aircraft carriers, we're all over the place. We have bases, blah, blah, blah. For us to be able to project power, we need to be able to have a footing in the Middle East. That's where CENTCOM is based out of. So if we get kicked out of the Middle East with our tails between our legs, that's a major L. So Trump has no choice but to put boots on the ground because no war has ever been won through air power alone. No war has been won through air power alone. So they're going to have to go in there and somehow get the regime out, invade somehow without getting fucking completely massacred. This is a fucking nightmare. It's a nightmare. And like, I don't see, how we're going to get out of this at this point, especially if he goes ahead and goes through it, blowing up a power plant. Then we're really cooked.
Myron, do you think that he was actually intending to do that, or do you think he's just flexing? And also, would it be
intending to do what in particular?
To actually get, like at the end of the 48 hours, like really blow up their energy. Like to me, it was a flex, but at the end of the day, he's going to have to make a decision within 48 hours that doesn't punk him. And,
Yeah.
but do you think that there was an actual intention to really do it? Or do you think it was just in response to how Israel got pummeled today?
I think both. We're looking at right now, a barrel of Brent crude right now is sitting at about $109, right? So that's catastrophic, right? $80, just so everybody understands, a barrel of oil about a month ago, before this fucking war, month and a half ago, was around, $60 or so, $65, whatever. $80 is a catastrophe. The fact that we're sitting at 109 is insane. And the only reason we're even sitting at 109 is because we released 400 million barrels of emergency petroleum reserves. And Russia and Iran both got sanctions lifted off of their oil, which is comical, by the way, because the entire purpose of this war, by the way, was, it's going to be 4D chess. We're going to weaken the Chinese because we took out their Venezuelan oil. Now we're going to take out their Iranian oil. Well, joke's on you, because we had to lift sanctions off of Russian and Iranian oil. What the fuck? They're making billions of dollars now off of that. And then on top of that, they're charging the boats that come through $2 million to pass through, and only for friendly countries. So like, this is completely backfired, because I know what some of the idiots are going to say. Well, Myron, this is America first, because every time I debate these retards, they'll sit there and say, Myron, this is America first, and not just Israel, because we're weakening our adversaries with the Chinese and the Russians. Oh, really? Are we really weakening the Chinese and the Russians? Because the Russians are making money hand over fist. Almost all the money that they spent in the war against Ukraine, they've made back over the past couple of weeks with their energy and their fucking oil being sold. And then the Chinese are still getting oil. So who are we hurting exactly? We're hurting ourselves. We're hurting the American taxpayer. We're hurting people at the pump, right? Groceries are going to go up as a byproduct of this. People are already losing their minds. I saw on TikTok that like we're looking at $8 gallons of oil in some, gallons of gas in some places in the country. I've seen in the West Coast, especially like California, Oregon, Seattle, right? Washington. I'm looking at like $8 gallons of oil. That's insane. That's insane, dude. So the only people that are suffering here a lot are Americans, and this war doesn't benefit any of us. And I think, if anything, people are going to be wondering, why the fuck is my oil so expensive? And then they're going to like do some research and figure out, oh, wow, we got a war in the Middle East again? Why are we going to this war? Oh, for Israel? Oh, this doesn't make sense. So it's just going to red pill more people, because people are going to want to find out why the hell their groceries and their food is so goddamn expensive. And it's not going to be hard to find out. So, at least with the Russia-Ukraine war, not many people know that Ukraine is the breadbasket of Eastern Europe. A lot of people don't know that, the Russia-Ukraine war obviously led to us releasing opening our petroleum reserves in 2022, because we had the lowest reserves after that, because of Russian oil, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of Americans weren't able to like reverse engineer why gas and why food was expensive until later on. But with this one, it's going to be very clear cut. We're actually in a full-on conflict in the Middle East. So everybody knows, once you're in a conflict in the Middle East, oil goes up. So, I think when it comes but to answer your question, do I think he's actually going to go ahead and attack them within 48 hours? I think he will, and I'll tell you why. Number one, NATO doesn't want to help. Number two, they know they can't open up the Strait of Hormuz by themselves. They just know. I think he's given up on that. That's why he made that stupid-ass Truth Social post saying, like, the war's almost done, and, we are going to help anyone that wants to get involved with the Strait of Hormuz. Like, he's trying to, like, dump the problem on other countries, and no one's biting for it. And it's interesting too, because like the Japanese negotiated with the Iranians right after going to the White House, which is comical. The Japanese are negotiating with the Iranians right now to get oil, because 90% of their oil comes through the Strait of Hormuz. So nobody really is with us on this conflict besides Israel. Everybody realizes this was like a huge geopolitical blunder. This was a huge fucking L. It was completely foolish and stupid and low IQ. And quite frankly, no one wants to get involved, because they don't want to have to deal with not getting oil, or get or increase barrels of oil. So I don't know. I think he is that stupid enough to attack in 48 hours, because he can't open the strait again.
I wonder what the Gulf country. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, ask your question.
So I think the Gulf countries are going to be put at risk. So Qatar, UAE.
Yeah.
So now Iran already stated that if you hit our infrastructure, we're going for the region. And so this is kind of forcing their hand to get involved too, in a way, don't you think?
Yeah, the problem with the Gulf states, though, is that like they know that if they actually, this is why they've been biting their tongue for so long and not really attacking, because They know that if they actually attack the Iranians have the capacity to fuck their lives up. Because all these Gulf countries are, I'll be honest with you, weak militaries. This is why they rely on the United States for support and protection. And they're very sensitive, right? Like all the Iranians need to do is shoot one missile towards the Burj Khalifa and they're going to fold immediately. So like, they've already sent drones towards it. So they're already terrified, because the other thing also with these Gulf states that they can't afford is a war, because the Gulf states, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, etc. All these countries are like very beautiful and safe, clean countries, right? They have less crime than we do over here. They don't got no black people, which is fantastic. So the last thing they want is to be like the rest of the Middle East and appeal to the stereotypes of a war-torn Middle Eastern jihadi country. So because the Gulf states rely upon two main things: tourism, expatriates, and oil. So if they're already getting fucked on the energy, and with the tourism, they don't want to fucking dig themselves deeper. We're looking at the UAE, if I'm not mistaken, they've already lost like almost a third of their property value at this point. So getting into a conflict with the Iranians, who quite literally have nothing to lose, this is a war of existential crisis for them. I just don't think that them retaliating is smart in their eyes. Like, I think they're gonna, because the Iranians have been very precise with attacking them. They've attacked American and Israeli assets in the region, and they've kind of stayed away from destroying civilian structure, right? Because even the drone strikes that they've been sending them right into particular hotel rooms. So they've been pretty precise. But I think if they were to like actually attack the Iranians, they would full on, start hitting other infrastructures which the Gulf simply can't stomach. They ain't got nothing to lose, but the Gulf countries got a lot to lose, in other words.
And they found out that U.S. is not going to jump in and save them. All of their air defense and security has been Israel focused. They haven't, they kind of just left them out there in the wind.
They did. Good point. And this has been, and that's an even bigger slap to the face, because, the Gulf states all secretly hate Israel, right? Like, but they understand that they have to work with Israel in order to get full on U.S. support, right? And they cuck to Israel because of that. Obviously their populations, don't like Israel even more so, but the monarchs and the leaders and everything else, they have to kind of play nice. Otherwise, it's going to be tough to get that same U.S. support. So, and this is why, a big reason why October 7th happened is because the Saudi Arabians were like flirting with potentially joining the Abraham Accords, which would be a huge backstab to the Palestinians, because for a very long time, that was like one of the PLO/the Palestinians like biggest hammers was Saudi Arabia, who, is a very religiously significant country. You can make the argument, arguably one of the leaders of the Muslim world, if they join the Abraham Accords, that you could kiss Palestinian sovereignty and freedom goodbye. So that also prompted the attack with Hamas. And it actually worked in their regards, because after Hamas attacked, Saudi Arabia completely pulled out of Abraham Accord talks.
Where do you, just looking at this current situation, you believe the ground invasion is going to occur? We believe that it's not going to work out. What's the next mode of escalation after the ground invasion in Kargil?
I hate to say it, potentially a nuclear bomb, which, I don't want to be a doom and gloom guy, but even if a nuclear bomb were to hit, the Iranians would still fight. Like, we're talking about hundreds of missile cities, dude. Like hundreds of missile cities, 31 different provinces, completely decentralized. They have their marching orders. They got their targets. Okay, you nuke the Iranians, that's going to make them fight even harder, dude. That's going to make them fight even harder. And honestly, here's the other problem too. And Suleiman, me and you talked about this. If a nuclear bomb is used in this conflict, say goodbye to counterproliferation for the future. It's fucking done. Every single country on Earth is going to fight to get a nuclear bomb. Say goodbye.
Wouldn't it be the exact opposite of that, Myron?
Shut the fuck up when I'm talking. Say goodbye to the IEA. Say goodbye to the NPT. Say goodbye to countries saying that we're not going to go ahead and pursue a nuclear bomb. Especially the entire Muslim world is going to pursue a nuclear bomb. They're going to say, fuck that. The Israelis can attack you. If you don't have a nuclear bomb, we are going to get a nuclear bomb, and the United States will back them, because the Muslim world was already nervous about the Israelis bombing Qatar. This is why they went ahead and Saudi Arabia got that pact with Pakistan, right? And they also know that if Iran is taken down, they're not going to stop. They're going to go after Turkey next. They're going to go after Pakistan. The Israelis are not going to stop until there's no strong Muslim countries left. Let's just be honest here. These hardliners from the Likud party, especially Benjamin Netanyahu and all these other guys, they're going to stop at nothing to attack every single powerful Muslim country. So it's going to be Pakistan and Turkey that's next on the chopping block. So, you know, that's what's going to happen. So say goodbye to non-nuclear proliferation if Iran gets nuked. Every country in the Muslim world is going to pursue a nuclear bomb after that. That nuclear arms race that Kennedy feared is going to happen.
Also, what's specifically Iran as well, if they were to use a nuclear bomb, obviously Iran themselves don't have a nuclear bomb, that's obviously a lie, but this would just be open season where Iran can just basically not hold back and just hit anywhere and everywhere in the Middle East.
Yeah,
that would be, they'd have to just use their own nuclear option, right?
Tel Aviv is getting decimated. If they get nuked, Tel Aviv is going down. That's going to be the first location, or Haifa, one of the two. It's going to be Haifa, Tel Aviv, or even Dimona, because they would probably want to destroy their ability to if they didn't already destroy on these strikes right now, they're probably going to want to completely tarnish their ability to fire nukes at them again. So yeah, they're going to make sure Israel is destroyed before they're destroyed. So this is going to be completely mutually assured destruction for the Iranians and the Israelis at least. So yeah, dude, it's bad. It's very bad. And I can't believe that Trump put us in this situation. Absolute retard. Go ahead.
What I was going to ask was, looking at specifically from now on, basically what you're saying is you don't see any end in sight, and we're going to end up in nuclear winter, right?
I would say I don't see any end in sight with a ground invasion is pretty much guaranteed. I would say at this point, I would say I'm 90% sure. I'll say confidently, being very modest here, we got like an 80% chance of a ground invasion. I would say.
But you mean ground invasion into College Island, right? Not actual real ground invasion. Or do you mean both?
College Island is going to dictate how they do it, but I think even because College Island isn't enough.
So you believe there's going to be an actual ground invasion with like...
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I'll tell you why. The reason why is because they have to take out the regime now. Or there's two options here. There's literally two options. It's either A, you take out the regime, right, and be able to maintain your bases in the Middle East, or B, you don't take out the regime, and then you have to you have to take your bases out the Middle East. And that's a huge L for the United States. That's going to look incredibly weak, that we got our bases all destroyed and we got to pull out now. So it's one of those two options. So he has to do a ground assault now at this point.
But for a ground assault, he's going to need 500,000 to 700,000 people. Where's he going to get those people from?
Bro, this is why we're cooked, man. Yo, see, we're having tougher discussions here on this fucking space than they are at the Pentagon. Like, yo, this is the issue. Like, this is the fucking problem. The Iranians have 1 million fucking, between the IRGC, the Artesh, and reserve soldiers, they got 1 million, dude. They got 1 million. And they have the benefit of being the defending military. How the fuck are we going to invade? Are we going to invade from the west with the Zagros Mountains? That's impossible. Saddam Hussein tried that, got fucked up, right? Are we going to invade from the north with the Alborz Mountains? That's going to be very difficult. Caspian Sea is damn near impossible to sail. One of the guys in my chat, former U.S. sailor, he said it's impossible. You can't even get it. You could barely get to shore from there. And then assuming you do get to shore, you still got to deal with the, horrible and treacherous mountainous, terrain. And then how are you going to, you're going to come in from the Strait of Hormuz where it's literally open season, then they can see everything from every angle? It's a nightmare. So it's like, I don't know how, I don't know how the fuck he's going to do this. Like, what's going on here?
So basically what you're saying is Mays and that girl are going to be on the front lines.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I'm saying, so you're basically saying Mays and that girl are going to be on the front lines.
Pretty much, bro. Yeah. If you guys are army reserves, you guys are cooked.
Because it's equal rights, isn't it? So now there's going to be a ground invasion. All the chicks are going to they're actually going to enroll now. It's going to be a 50-50 participation, right?
Bro, it's gonna be ladies first.
Exactly.
Ladies first.
Or is it gonna be when there's war? Or is it really gonna be when there's actual war? Then women remember about you know, then they forget feminism and they remember that you know it's good to make a sandwich.
Yeah, I'll tell you that. But hey, man, ladies first, man. We're gentlemen over here.
Yeah, definitely,
So
I'm
definitely.
not
No,
a feminist,
they've
please.
been fighting us for all these years, talking about women's rights and how you know it's feminism and all this kind of stuff. Well, this is it now. Get on the front lines.
yeah,
Get on the front
But
lines.
but Sully, if it goes the way things have been going, Trump will reverse the immigration policy and say, "Come back, we'll give you citizenship. You just got to go fight
He
first."
will do that. That's actually not even a joke. That's like not even a joke. That's actually real. He will actually do that. But I'm supporting women's rights on this issue. I'm supporting the women being on the front lines. But I'm gonna hazard a guess, Myron, that somehow these women are not gonna be on the front lines. They're gonna be anti-feminist, and they're gonna start getting in the kitchen, and yeah, they'll move on if any of the guys get taken out.
yeah. No, I mean, you know, all jokes aside, like this is a very bad situation, dude. Like this is. I genuinely believe that this could be worse than Iraq. This can be way worse than Iraq because this was a war. Because here's the thing with Iraq, we at least had, you know, 9/11. We had, you know, the patriotism. You had the famous Bush at ground zero saying, hey, the people that knocked down these towers are going to hear all of us. You know, we had the anthrax lies. We had the weapons of mass destruction lies. We had a lot of lies ready to go, right? Like they planned out that false flag. This one, not so much. And the problem also is that like the American public is way smarter in 2026 than they were in 2003. You can't push the Hezbollah and the pro-Israel, our greatest ally, lies no more. Like people are starting to get really red-pilled on Middle Eastern foreign policy. Now, of course, there's always going to be idiots, right? Like that, like MAGA-tards that don't acknowledge this shit that are paid by the Jews and are stupid. But a lot of people are surprisingly aware. And they're seeing the trends, man. They're seeing the Hezbollah. I think, if I'm not mistaken, like if you don't take like a MAGA poll, like a retard poll, most Americans are against this war. So, and you're going to have even more of them against this war as the gas prices continue to go up. And that's the other thing too, is like the longer this war goes, the worse it's going to get. You know, so it's just this is just an L in every single way. This is probably one of the worst political blunders I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
it's
I agree.
that bad.
But what I don't get is where they're gonna actually, like, I know I was joking about the chicks, but actually, like, you just don't have the numbers. Like, where are you gonna get 700,000 for? Remember in Iraq, what was it? They got 300,000, and a lot of them were.
They invaded with like 300K.
Sorry.
They invaded with, I think, around 300,000. And also important for people to realize when they invaded Iraq, Iraq didn't finally punch the United States back until about 5 months into the conflict. So this one they punched back immediately.
And also that 300,000 was with a coalition, like the Brits were there.
Yes.
A large number of other countries were there. This time, all the other countries are kind of saying we don't want to get involved. So I just can't even see, just from a basic math issue. Like I don't see where they're gonna get 700,000 from. Yeah, unless they do forced enrollment.
And even if they had 700,000, it's still going to be a nightmare, man, because they're invading, and the Iran is a fortress geographically, man. It's like it's not going to be easy like Iraq. Like Iraq, I mean, Iraq was even hard, but this country is 4 times as big, 90 million people. I could only imagine that the military is probably going to beef up easily to a 1.1 to 1.2 because people are going to rally around the flag. They're going to say they're invading our country. We have to come in and defend. It's gonna make them even more unified, man. This is just a nightmare all across. And the thing that pisses me off the most, the thing that absolutely kills me, that annoys me, is intel report came out, declassified, where the intelligence community did a thorough assessment of bombing Iran first, regime change, killing the Ayatollah, etc. And universally, they said, look, Trump, you are probably not going to effectuate regime change by killing the Ayatollah. It's probably not going to happen. If anything, you're going to probably get a rally around the flag effect because this is a theocracy and the clerics are going to just, keep pushing, and this is a martyrdom culture. And what did Trump do? He bombed them anyway. And they gave him this assessment a week before he bombed on February 28th. Like, this guy is like a fucking retard. Like, seriously, dude? And then Tulsi Gabbard told you that they're not building a nuclear bomb. And you still went ahead and said, oh, they're building a nuclear bomb. We got to stop. Joe Kent, they didn't have a nuclear bomb. Oh, they're still building a nuclear bomb. The nuclear bomb thing was a lie. It was a lie to get the American public to rally support around him, because he knew that if he said, okay, we need to go and attack Iran because of their ballistic missile program. Well, that's not going to make sense because those ballistic missiles can't hit the United States. Okay, we need to hit Iran because of their proxies. Okay, that doesn't make sense because Hezbollah, the Houthis, Bashar al-Assad, all these guys. Number one, they're weak, and number two, they don't pose a threat to the United States. So the only political talking point that Trump can use to justify a war against Iran was the nuclear one. That's why he went with that nuclear deal, and he never wanted to actually negotiate in good faith. The Omani mediator literally said he had a deal better than Obama. They were willing to give away their stockpile. They're willing to not have a stockpile. They're willing to have it where they only enrich at a certain level where you cannot enrich it at a higher level after that. It was like the perfect deal. And I'm so glad the Omani mediator went to American media and told the truth. Jared Kushner and Witkoff are scumbags because they are a critical component as to why we are going to this war. How the fuck are you going to have two Jewish Zionists who are friends with Netanyahu being the lead negotiators? Like, what the fuck is going on here? What the fuck is going on? And these guys have business affairs in the Middle East, to include Jared Kushner wanting to open up a resort in Gaza. How the fuck are these guys negotiating? Like, they don't have any interest in actually negotiating for peace. This is a fucking joke. I could have done a better job than this. I'm not even kidding around. Holy shit. This is incredible that you would have Steve Witkoff, and who's a real estate guy out of New York City, right? And then Kushner, who is a close family friend of Netanyahu. For those that don't know, when Netanyahu would visit the United States, he would sleep in Kushner's fucking bed when he was a kid. He would kick that nigga out of his own room and go sleep in his bed, probably in the race car, right? Netanyahu sleeping in the fucking race car bed. And Jared Kushner would be on the couch. Like, that's how close he is. And you have these guys negotiating on behalf of, for Gaza, negotiating on behalf of the United States. Get the fuck out of here. These guys are Israel first.
There's no doubt about that, the Israel first, and you're right about the Omanis coming out and saying that they, there was an agreement. This is why that one attack on Salalah Port was a false flag, because the Iranians, if you remember, said that we didn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they would own it. Like, if they attacked it, they would own it. But we know that and then the Israelis attacked the other energy facility as well, like the other day with that they own with the Qataris. Like, the Israelis don't care if the region goes up in flames, because to them, they look at it like, as long as all the other Muslim countries are destabilized, they don't care. Like, that's their number one care, is like everybody else being destabilized and them being the only country with like a functioning government, functioning military, strongest military. That's all they care about.
No doubt whatsoever. I'm just shocked that you're like, you think that these guys are so crazy they're gonna do a ground invasion. That for me is the craziest thing ever. That's just like a sacrifice of all Americans. It's completely shocking that they would even do that.
I think they would.
Trump had one card he could have played, though, Myron. He could have said, we have evidence that's undeniable that the attempt on Trump's life in Butler was done by Iran. The Magatards wouldn't win against them, right? But it shows that whole storyline about it being Iran that took the shot on him is false, because you would go into a country if they tried to kill your president, and they don't even ever bring that up.
I don't know. Would they? That's interesting. I feel like that's like with what they did overall with the Iraq and them being the intelligence source for even the nuclear stuff is insane. I just don't think that I think they put that out there in the media, Joa, now that you brought it up, only as a backup narrative just in case they needed it. But it's too late now. They went with the nuclear one.
I just feel like that's more believable than the nukes. I mean, maybe it's just me. Maybe you're right, and I have the wrong perspective. But I feel like that's more believable than the whole they have a nuke and they can hit us story.
No, I agree with you. That would have been a better narrative. A lot of people wouldn't have believed it, but it would have been a better narrative story. It would have been even better if he said it right at the beginning as opposed to waiting a year.
Guys, sorry, I had myself muted if you guys were asking me something. My bad.
Yeah, Joa was asking you something. Joa?
No, I was just saying Trump had a card he could have played that I think would have got more support than he has now, which is they had inconclusive evidence that the attack on his life was done by Iran. and therefore they need to take out the regime. I think he would have had more support if they would have went with that storyline, but it just goes to show that that whole storyline was false to begin with. That's why it's never mentioned at all.
Yeah, it's a
in this
really
whole
weak
conflict.
storyline. It's super weak. I agree.
Yeah, but the nukes hitting U.S. is I feel it's like it's weaker.
Yeah,
than
it
even
is.
that one is.
Yeah, but both of them are weak. I think the only reason maybe why Nuke is because like he's always like, because he can at least say I've been consistent. I've been talking about them. They can't have a nuclear bomb for 20 to 30 years. So that might be like the more consistent play. But like, yeah, I mean, he could have potentially used the assassination route, even though that one was weak too. I mean, at the end of the day, man, there's really no justification for this conflict. Like there's any way you split it, like this thing has no strategic benefit for the United States. Even the magatards that tried to tell me that China and Russia being weakened, like Russia and China are like sitting pretty right now, dude. Russia has like energy. Last time I checked, like when the Strait of Hormuz was first closed, their energy stock went up like 50%, dude. And we lifted sanctions on them. So that's like a W. They were the most sanctioned country in the world, and now sanctions are lifted for them. It's like, what is going on here?
Myron, what would you think would trigger for the fatwa to create a nuclear bomb in Iran? Would it be post a nuclear strike or pre a nuclear strike?
Okay, so I really like that question. I think they're trying to build a nuclear bomb right now. I genuinely believe right now as we speak, they are racing to build a nuclear bomb. And what might happen is they might do an announcement to the world and say, we got a nuclear bomb. We've created this many warheads. And that's it. And you better not attack us. I think they are working towards one right now. I would not be surprised if Mojtaba secretly rescinded his father's fatwa. Because if I'm not mistaken, from what I understand, Suleiman, maybe you can come in and help me out with this. If I'm not mistaken, I think the fatwa dies with the leader, or the new leader can go ahead and rescind a prior fatwa. So, and we know that he's a hardliner and he wants nuclear bomb. And then I know the guy that replaced Ali Larijani also is pro-nuclear weapons. So maybe Suleiman, you could comment more from the religious angle about the fatwa. But I think that they're probably working on a nuclear bomb right now as we speak, dude. Personally.
I'm not really an expert on Shia Islam, but within like Sunni Islam, if you do a fatwa, I mean that fatwa continues unless there's another scholar who does another ruling that like basically supersedes it.
And I would assume his son, being the supreme leader now, would presumably would have the ability to rescind that, I'm assuming?
Yeah, he'll be able to give like another ruling and give a different reasoning for it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't have like a classified new fatwa that would be nope, get the nuclear bombs for national security purposes, and they're not working on it, and they're working on it right now. I mean, like we don't know where the 60% enriched uranium is. Now, I've heard from multiple different military scholars that they can probably create a crude nuclear bomb within a couple of weeks, or if not a month, and they can make it what's called like a gun nuke, if I'm not mistaken, which doesn't really need too much sophistication, and it'll be operational, and that might be the deterrent that's needed. And at this point, honestly, the only way you're really going to curb U.S. and Israeli aggression is with a nuclear bomb. I mean, it's the reason why we haven't attacked Kim Jong-un yet, right? If you want to really make an argument, I would. North Korea is way more erratic than the Iranians. I would argue the Iranians are actually far more measured than people give them credit for. I think they're way more measured than even the Israelis. I was talking about this earlier. If you look at the 12-day war, about 1,000 Iranians were killed during the 12-day war, yet the Iranians still did a symbolic strike and ended the war after 12 days. However, with the Israelis, when October 7th happened, 1,200 Israelis were killed, and they went ahead and just conducted a genocide. And we know that, they say 70,000 were killed. It's going to be hundreds of thousands when everything is said and done, and we find the rubble, and we actually find all the missing people and all the limbs and everything else like that. So the Israelis conducted a genocide for 1,200. The Iranians ended a war and did a symbolic strike with 1,000. After being blitzkrieged and hit with like a Pearl Harbor type event, they still were able to come to a peaceful ceasefire. So I think, if anything, that's proof, just looking at numbers alone, that the Iranians are far more measured than the Israelis are. And don't forget, the Israelis have an illegal nuclear program, which me and Joe have talked about. Completely illegal. They shouldn't have it. They stole uranium from us. It's the reason to this day why they still haven't declared their nuclear program, because if they did, they wouldn't be able to get foreign aid from us anymore, which I know Joa gave me the statute on it that Jimmy Carter put into play back in like the 1970s or whatever, and it was like an amendment. But long story short, We cannot give foreign aid to a country that has an illegal nuclear program, which the Israelis absolutely do. We know this because this is a big reason why JFK was killed. So I find it incredible that the Israelis are, saying shit like, well, the Iranians are trying to get a nuclear bomb. We can't let them have a nuclear bomb, blah, blah, blah. Like, dude, the Iranians were members of the JCPOA. The Iranians were signatories of the NPT. You guys have never signed anything, and you guys have a completely illegal nuclear fucking program. So them trying to tell the Iranians and police the Iranians to having a nuclear program is comical to me, especially since Netanyahu came here in 2015 and complained, right, that Obama administration went ahead and signed the nuclear program. Sorry, he had been joined into the JCPOA, and it said that the Iranians are irrational actors. When in reality, if you look at every single escalation, whether it was them bombing Damascus, it was the killing of Soleimani, it was the assassination of nuclear scientists, the killing of generals all the time, all the assassinations that they do, everything, right? The Iranians have not bombed them into an oblivion. It took them basically killing the supreme leader and his top 50 people, or the Pearl Harbor event from Operation Rising Lion back during the 12-day war that kicked it off. It took that for them to respond aggressively. And I think this time they're saying, you know what, dude, people have been calling us a paper tiger for a long time. They don't respect our capabilities. So now we are going to pummel Israel like never before. And, it is what it is. I mean, at this point, the Israelis bit off a bit more than they can chew. They thought that they'd be able to destroy these guys. They thought they would capitulate in a couple of days. And, the Israelis simply are a glass cannon. As I've always said, they cannot actually stomach casualties. They cannot fight on the ground. That's why Hezbollah's fucking them up right now. They fucked them up back in 2024 too. Don't believe the Hezbollah. There's a reason why they signed a ceasefire and pulled out of southern Lebanon. They've never been able to take southern Lebanon. Historically, they've always gotten their asses kicked because they're not good on the ground. Their Merkava tanks are getting blown up. It's a smithereens. So the Israelis don't sign ceasefires unless they know that they can't win or a victory isn't imminent. The Israelis show no mercy if they have the upper hand. So the fact that they signed a ceasefire with Hezbollah should tell you guys everything that you need to know. So they can't win on the ground. Obviously, they did the pager operation. They bombed and killed Hassan Nasrallah in Beirut because they have air power. And obviously, the Mossad is a fantastic intelligence service. I'll never take that away from them. But let me be clear. When it came to them and their ground invasion in 2024, they got their fucking asses kicked. That's why they had to fucking run like dogs between their legs back into northern Israel. The whole purpose of them going into southern Lebanon was to run the pager attack, bomb Beirut, kill Hassan Nasrallah, disrupt the command structure, right? Because they had killed Fuad Shukr as well at the same time. And then buy time so that they can begin the overtake of the Assad regime. It was all calculated. But they knew that they were not going to be able to take up to the Litani River. I remember me and Suleiman talked about this. They wanted to go up to Beirut, which is a joke. Like, they would never made it up that far either. But that's what happened. So anyway, I'll turn to somebody else up in here.
How do you think, Myron, how do you think the current ground invasion with Lebanon's going?
From what I've been told, and I'd like for you to come in, I've been told that there's been 7 to 10 Merkava tanks that have been blown up. I've heard that a good amount of Israelis have been injured and killed in the ground invasion. We know that the Israelis like to keep their casualties close to their chest. We know Smotrich, if I'm not mistaken, his son got fucked up. I saw a picture of him at the hospital. I think you posted it, Suleiman. Looks like he's in intensive care. So yeah, dude, they're getting their asses kicked. And we know this because invading countries always have a much harder time fighting against a defending country. And Hezbollah is a very capable fighting force on the ground.
Yeah, they're getting dominated. But in terms of 7, that was just in one day, Myron. They've taken so many out. Yeah, they've taken so many out.
How many tanks are gone now?
So many. I mean, I've lost count. I know just not today. I think the days are merging into one. Either yesterday or the day before. Just on that day, they took out 7.
Oh wow! So let's go conservative. Let's assume we're all like, pro-Israel. We're fighting a Hezbollah fight. What's the number if we're like all Zionists? Because even they got to concede a little bit.
I would say up in the 20s.
Yeah, they'd probably say 20.
Really?
20s, yeah.
15,
yeah.
15 to
because
20.
Because there's also people carriers. There's also other military equipment that they've taken out, like tractors, military tractors. the Hummers, they've taken out tons of them as well. There's yes, tanks in the 20s, but there's other military equipment that they've taken out, and they've been posting about it and recording every one of them.
Oh shit. Okay, so even Israelis, Hasbara agents would say 20 tanks.
Yeah, I think they'd say about 15 to 20, yeah.
Okay, what do you guys think have been taken out then?
Oh, probably about 30, 40.
Shit. Yeah, that's a lot, dude.
Just on 3 of the days, I know one day was 7, one day was 6, one day was 4. So what's that? That's 17 straight away just on 3 of the days.
Because when did they start the ground invasion? Like a couple of days ago, right?
Nah, it's been like all the days are merging into one. So the actual thing's been 3 weeks. Hasn't it been like 10 days, 7 to 10 days?
I can guarantee you there's a area in southern Lebanon called I think Mlita, I think it is, and this is it's a monument area for Hezbollah where they've created a web, and they've got all the military equipment that they've destroyed from Israel, and there's hundreds of tanks, weaponry, people movers, all this artillery. But if you look at what they were able to capture and destroy, and what the Israeli military were claiming have been destroyed, they were claiming about 20% of what's been destroyed. And when you go and look at what's in Lita, it completely negates that statistic. And I've been there twice. It's a beautiful place to go to.
Okay,
yeah, so he's talking about the 2006 war.
Yes, 2006. Okay. Yes, 2006. Sorry, yes.
Yeah, Melita is one of the best museums in the world, without a doubt.
It is. Sully and Myron, just one quick question, and I'll get off. You know how you're talking about the ground invasion, potential ground invasion. Do you think that they will activate some proxies, because the US has a lot of proxies in that region? When you look at like Pakistan, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and they've used them before. I mean, they used them basically to take out Syria. Could that be part of that 300,000?
I'll let Myron answer that, because I actually don't think there'll be an actual ground invasion, actual proper one.
So wait, say that again. You're asking me if they had a ground invasion where?
So if they were to do a ground invasion in Iran, would you think that they would activate their proxies in the region? Like, because they've used the likes of all these sectarian proxies in the past, like all these Al-Qaeda affiliates in Iraq, in Pakistan, in Syria, in Lebanon. They've got lots of them.
So you're saying when you say ground invasion, are you talking about the United States invading or the Israelis invading?
Yes. Yeah, no, the United States invading in Iran.
Dude, I'd be shocked if they had a lot of proxies still in the country, because I think they already kind of blew their load, man. The 12-day war, and then because obviously they had people in the country for the 12-day war, because for those that don't know, before the 12-day war kicked off, the Israelis intelligently had Mossad operatives in the country. They built up sophisticated drones in country, and then they used those drones to destroy the Iranian air defense from within the country, and that opened the airs up so F-35s can bomb the fuck out of them. And then the United States obviously came in later on after air defenses were pretty much degraded significantly. Generals were gone, nuclear scientists were gone, and then we obviously bombed Isfahan, Natanz, and Fordo. And Fordo was the big one because that was the one that was in the mountain. So I think between them activating their operatives then, which we know that the Iranians caught a lot of them and hung them, and then obviously the protests in January, a lot of them got captured as well and hung. A lot of their operatives are probably at this point either caught or compromised, or not enough to actually have a uprising that would actually mean anything within the country. That's my estimation. I mean, I think they've probably already activated majority of their assets that were in country at this point, between the protests and everything, because we know that those protests were very important to them, because they had them going on for a while. They tried to smuggle in some Starlink, so obviously they committed some real resources to that uprising, and it failed.
Yes, I was just checking
Thanks
in now.
for that, Martin.
I was just checking in now. So the Hezbollah ground invasion started on the 3rd, so that's 18 days ago.
That makes sense. So they because Hezbollah hit the Israel after the supreme leader was killed a couple of days after. So yeah, that makes sense that they would do the ground invasion. Yeah, so they haven't made any ground then, I guess, huh?
They made 0 ground. Like, this is shocking how badly they've been clapping them up. Like, I thought that they would try the 2006 tactic, which is they'll allow the Israelis to come in, get in a bit deep, and then clap them when they're in Lebanon. But this time they did not even allow them to get anywhere close. They just keep smashing them. Like, this is the worst obliteration I've seen in my life. Like, this is worse, without a doubt, worse than 2024, worse than 2006. I mean, this guy MPC was talking about Melita. Like, they got to Melita to get smashed up. These guys are not going anywhere. Like, this is just, honestly, this is like a next level devastation by Hezbollah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they lost their command structure, but obviously their ability to still fight on the floor, on the ground, is still going to be, they're going to still be capable because they know the land and everything else like that. The Israelis obviously did a very intelligent operation, but I truly do think the only reason they even invaded in 24 was because they were banking on the Pager operation and the bombing of Beirut and getting Hassan Nasrallah, and they used the ground invasion to kind of spread the wealth, so to speak. Kind of just like what Hezbollah did when the Israelis wanted to invade Gaza. They were bombing northern Israel, trying to split them apart, and that's exactly what the Israelis were able to do to them. If you go ahead and invade from the south and then destroy their pagers and their beepers, have them disheveled, and then on top of that, kill their leadership with killing Hassan Nasrallah. Now they're completely blind and don't know what's going on, because people forget that before Hassan Nasrallah was killed, they killed a guy named Fuad Shukr, if I'm not mistaken. They killed him like the same day as Ismail Haniyeh, actually. They killed him right around the same time. So their command structure was pretty much like cooked at that point. By the time Hassan Nasrallah was killed. So when he was gone, that was it. That was very demoralizing for them on top of the Pager attack. So that's what led to the ceasefire, because both parties were getting beat up, obviously. And then they were able to take that victory and, boom, Ahmed al-Shara started the rebellion in Syria, and the rest was history. They worked their way down to Damascus within 3 weeks and took over Syria because Hezbollah wasn't able to reinforce and help Bashar al-Assad, and he fled to Russia. And then boom, now they got it. And then obviously Ahmed al-Shara, first thing he did when he came into power, he kicked the fucking IRGC out because he didn't want no beef with the Israelis. The Israelis still bombed their military infrastructure anyway, so that Ahmed al-Shara would not be able to mount any type of resistance, because it was never about regime change for the Israelis. It's always just been about destroying their neighbors and having what I call a regime collapse. I know a lot of people say, oh, regime change, regime change. I take it a step further. I think the Israelis just want regime destruction, right? I truly do think that they don't want any stability. And I found this out. Actually, I kind of always suspected this, but there was a guy that Scott Horton interviewed. I think his name was like Ephraim something. And the guy was, he's Israeli, worked for the Israeli intelligence apparatus, was involved in it, was in the IDF, etc. And he kind of like let the cat out the bag, and he said, yeah, like, it's not regime change. They just want regime destruction. They want everybody in the region completely destroyed, because the Israelis' number one goal is security. And that security a lot of the times is going to come from the destruction of Muslim states, because the Israelis know deep down that the Muslim world will never accept them. They kind of know this. Like, unless they're cucked by the United States to some degree, like Jordan or Egypt, like, unless there's like some like crippling financial incentive where if they were to back out on it, they would get crippled financially. The Muslim world typically isn't going to want to play nice with them. So knowing this, they kind of secretly, plot against all of their Arab neighbors. Egypt and Jordan are maybe like, I think they still plot on the Egyptians and the Jordanians too. But, I think for the Israelis, assuming they topple Iran, it's 100% going to be Turkey and Pakistan as next. Erdogan has said shit about Israel that they don't like, even though they still do business. But Pakistan is going to be the next enemy, man, because they got nuclear weapons, and they don't want any Muslim majority country having nuclear weapons. That's a huge threat for them.
Yeah, I agree.
Myron, they talk about the with Syria, they talk about disrupting the Shia corridor. So what they talk about, this is the Israeli people, disrupting the corridor that starts in Iran. And when I say corridor, like weapon corridor, that starts in Iran, goes into Iraq, through to Syria, into Lebanon, and weapons flow into Hezbollah. And they say, by taking out Syria, we've disrupted the Shia corridor. But what they fail to underestimate, and this is why they always miscalculate, that the support for the resistance is not strictly to what's called consolidated within Shias. All the religion within the Arab nation will support the resistance over Israel. Forget about what's happening internally, right? All the political stuff that's happening internally. When it comes to support for the resistance against Israel, it's across the board. And this is why they always fail to calculate.
No, and I've been saying this. Like, I literally was saying this before I came on this space. The Israelis are never going to have peace unless they do one of two things. Either A, they bring the Palestinians in and give them citizenship and give them some goddamn respect and sovereignty and one-state solution, or B, they give the Palestinians their own state next door, which they'll never do because they're going to say security, and give them a two-state solution. Now, I'll be honest here, neither of these is going to ever happen because in a one-state solution, the Palestinians will quickly overwhelm them when it comes to population, and they will take the majority vote, and then the next thing you know, they're going to have a Palestinian prime minister, Palestinian head of Mossad. It will be a fucking nightmare for them. And for the Israelis also, they say it's the Jewish state. For it to be the Jewish state, that means they must maintain the Jewish majority. That's why that 2 million number that they always brag about Palestinians, that's kind of like one of their talking points, but they'll never let that number get bigger, or they'll never let it get larger. So that's the problem. The root cause of all of Israel's issues is what they've done to the Palestinians, and they will never, ever, ever have peace and security until they figure out the Palestinian question. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu has done everything in his power to avoid the Palestinian question. He destroyed the Oslo Accords. He sabotaged the Oslo Accords on purpose. I would argue he was behind the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin, who was critical to brokering the Oslo Accords. He's been caught in kibbutz footage, undercover kibbutz footage, admitting that he sabotaged the Oslo Accords using very shady legal language. So the issue here is that the Israelis think that they can get around the Palestinian question by just adding more countries to the Abraham Accords. But what they don't realize is you can add other countries to the Abraham Accords, but that's just the governments. The people are always going to hate you. The people are always going to dislike you. The people are always going to side with resistance countries. Look, this is going to be a crazy speculation here or a crazy assumption, but I'm going to say it. I truly do think that in the Middle East, in the Muslim world, there's probably more respect for Khamenei than MBS. I truly do think that there's probably more respect for the supreme leader of Iran that just got assassinated than Mohammed bin Salman, the king or the leader of Saudi Arabia. And it's because, at least with the Iranians, they're like, yo, we're not going to support Israel. Fuck the Israelis. They're killing Muslims. Even though it's Sunni Muslims, Palestinians, we're still going to go ahead and help them resist the occupation. So they get way more respect in the Muslim world than MBS. And people need to understand this in the West, that the Israelis are never going to have peace until they figure out the Palestine question, right? This is what, like, Bill Clinton kind of understood this. That is why Bill Clinton fought so hard to broker the Oslo Accords, having Yasser Arafat and Yitzhak Rabin meet in Oslo secretly. That's why it's called the Oslo Accords for years. And it was the first step towards a potential two-state solution. Now, obviously, they killed Yitzhak Rabin for that, a member of the Likud party. And to this day, Yitzhak Rabin's wife still thinks, I think she's dead now, but I think she wrote a book, and she talked in it how she believed that Yitzhak Rabin was killed by the Likud party and Netanyahu was the mastermind behind it, right? And we know that Ben Gvir also wanted him dead. He threatened him publicly multiple times, the current head of the defense, head of the defense ministry, whatever the fuck it may be, or national security. So it's the Israelis are going to have to deal with this to some degree. Like, it's either you figure out something with the Palestinians or be faced with perpetual war. That's just what's going to happen. They are never going to accept you in the Middle East until then. And even if you did, like, figure out something with the Palestinians, you're still going to have to right all the wrongs that you've done. So I don't know. Like, the Israelis are extremely just very bad leadership. Like and the problem also is, like, they have these crazy hardliners from the right wing that think they could just, like, eviscerate Muslims, and they look at Muslims as like, we're going to kill these guys, fuck these guys, we hate them, they're dirty animals, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not how you get peace, bro. Like, killing Muslims is like, do you guys not understand that you're outnumbered? And at some point, like, if you were to ever lose U.S. support, which is quickly waning, by the way, that you guys would be overtaken by the Muslim world in 24 fucking hours. Like, America is waking up. Like, people in the left, they've already lost the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party is checked out with Israel, right? The Republican Party is starting to wake up, right? We've seen the rise of, right-wing influencers like Tucker Carlson, myself, Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, etc. We've been pretty popular with waking people up on what the fuck is going on with Israel. We're kind of taking out the old guard of, the right-wing cucks that, are Israel's our greatest ally. Even some of these guys are realizing like it's a fucking waste of time. So like, I don't foresee, Israel having the same staunch political support they've had over the past several decades because people are waking up to their bullshit. And the Gaza genocide woke up so many people, it red pilled so many people alongside TikTok. So the damage has been done. People have been red pilled. They know what the fuck Israel is. They understand what Israel is. And it's very difficult to support them. And the last bastion of support they really have in America at this point is the GOP. And even within the GOP, they're starting to get unpopular. And with this war, they're going to be even more unpopular. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. But I don't foresee the United States supporting Israel to this same extent in the next 10 to 20 years. I think 2 election cycles and these niggas are out of here. So they got to figure something out, because the whole reason why they have this aggressive posture in the Middle East in the first place is because they don't have to play nice with their neighbors, because we back everything that they do. So once that backing is gone and they are forced to exercise some level of diplomacy, they're forced to exercise some level of, of conceding on maybe occupied land like the Golan Heights or the West Bank or whatever, they're going to have to come to the table and actually have to make some real hard concessions or be destroyed.
Myron, did you see the plagiarism that the Pentagon did of that Foundations for Defense of Democracy? This was like a Jewish pro-Israeli think tank funded by all of the same people, the Adelsons, Paul Singer, a whole bunch. They're all like literally the pro-Israel lobby. They wrote the justification for the war, and they were going through all of the different things. Like they named the dates that Iran did this, and so the Pentagon, when they went to go ask for the $200 billion, published that as the justification, and then they found out that they plagiarized it. They literally copy pasted from this foundation's.
What's the name of it again?
It's called the Foundations of Defense for Democracy. I can send it to you. And then today, Bloomberg announced that there were people, and this is according to their inside sources, that is it Murdoch? What's his name? What's that big it is, hold on, I'll tell you right now. I just sent this to Sully. I just saw it. Geez. Oh, here it is. Okay. So it's the report, Bloomberg, it's Trump's Iran war exposes limits of the Yes Sir cabinet, but it goes into talking about how the mogul, Rupert Murdoch, that's his name, and other conservative commentators were the ones that were really pushing for this. It was what?
He was a hardcore Zionist, yeah. Rupert Murdoch is a hardcore Zionist. He's not Jewish himself, but he's invested in the West Bank. Netanyahu hangs out at his house every time he visits. Like, yeah, he's a hardcore Zionist. And Rupert Murdoch's son, went and took a secret meeting with Netanyahu in Israel like a year ago. So like he's like on they hang out. Like it's actually kind of comical. And it's funny because you're talking about the Foundation of Defense for Democracies. I'm looking at the people that are talking about cracking the regime. This article came out March 20, 2026. Mark Dubowitz, Jew, Ruel Mark Gerecht, and then Ray Takeya. I'm almost certain all three of these guys well, I know Mark Dubowitz is a Jew. I'm looking up the other guy. It's dude, it never fails, man. It never fails every single time. These guys. And like a lot of these think tanks, which is funny, these think tanks that like pose as American defense or whatever, it's almost always funded and run by Jews. It's literally comedy.
But even the Pentagon actually copy pasting this as their justification for the $200 billion, that's huge. It's huge.
Yeah, I believe it. That's, the Pentagon, and the crazy part is like, when it comes to all of our wars in the Middle East, it's always been framed by Zionist Jews, almost always, or very large scale, Zionists. So it's always fun. Yeah, I'm looking right now. Ray Takea, this guy's also probably is a fucking Jew, clearly. Yeah, I'm looking at all three of the guys that were the framers here. Yeah, it's always been this way. Project for New Americas, Clean Break Memo, etc. Almost every Middle Eastern foreign policy paper is almost always drafted and written by Jews. It's actually incredible how no one has like noticed. Well, we've noticed it, but the American general public doesn't know this, that our Middle Eastern foreign policy is literally written by dual citizen Zionist Jews. It's fucking nuts. It's criminal, to be honest with you. It's actually fucking criminal.
Yeah, I interviewed Zachary Foster about this today, and it's just basically a copy and paste. Like they just took it from them and just said, "Look, this is the reason. Give us $200 billion." Just get more proof that this entire war is at the direction of the Israelis.
Yeah, it's you know, it's either Jewish Israelis, evangelical Christians, or like displaced retarded Iranians. You know what I mean? Like that like say I like the Shah. You know, when you can make the argument that the Shah's regime was actually worse. Like you can make the argument that like he had the Savak, which was like their secret police. Secret police didn't have free speech under that either. They had no sovereignty. They were selling their fucking their oil was owned by the Brits, right? Like that's the whole reason why like the Operation Ajax even went down when they came in and took out Mossadegh. They took him out because he nationalized the oil, and the Brits couldn't have that. The MI6, the Mossad, and the U.S. couldn't have that. So they destabilized and kicked out Mossadegh. They put him in jail, got him killed, and then next thing you know, the Brits controlled the oil infrastructure. The Iranians recognized the Israelis as a as the first country in the Middle East to recognize the Israelis actually under the Shah, and they were a puppet for the West. And then the Iranian people couldn't take it anymore, and they got them out of there. So like we just have to be very honest when people say things like when the Iranians say, "Oh, debt to America," blah blah blah. We've been literally meddling in their affairs and their sovereignty since the 1950s, almost 100 years. Almost 100 years we've been involved in their bullshit. So it's like, you know, for what? Like, what do we have to, like, for what? For the Brits to be able to control their oil? England's cooked. You know, they're a failed nation. It's about to be Pakistan now. So, you know, let's be honest. So, well, like, what the hell's what are we doing here? Right? So it's, you know, I don't know. I'm not a fan of Middle Eastern intervention. I think it's always went wrong. We've always had problems. It's always created more headaches for us than W's. And it's created mortal enemies for no reason that we didn't really need to. Could you imagine if we had good relations in the Middle East, how cheap oil would be? Bro, it'd be fucking awesome. But no, of course not.
And Iran's always, through its history, been open to do a deal with the United States of America, even in this current Iranian, you know, the Islamic theocracy that's in charge right now. Right, the president in the 1990s, actually, late 1990s, was actually gonna do a deal with the United States of America, and they were very much on the same page. So it's the same point that we always say that they're always willing to do a deal, but the problem is that the Zionists come in to make sure that that deal doesn't happen because they're afraid that there would be a deal with them.
Yeah, no, and it's because they can't afford for the Iranians to get money. They need the Iranians to be sanctioned so that they can't buy weapons to arm themselves and defend themselves. And that is why Netanyahu came here, because it was never about the nuclear bomb. Like that's kind of like the ruse that they used to get the Americans involved. But the real fear is the ballistic missile program and the proxies. That's what really has them horrified.
Well,
and why they need to stop it.
That and the fact that if Iran wasn't under sanctions, if Iran actually was allowed to trade normally and trade with the US, first of all, the US would get oil.
Yep.
The second thing is China wouldn't be as strong because China wouldn't be getting dirt cheap oil.
Yep.
And the third thing is Iran would have been extremely powerful as well, probably one of the most powerful nations in the Middle East and probably one of the more influential nations in the world. And so they can't have that in the Middle East when they don't have them under control. So that's the biggest issue they got with Iran, because Iran's oil is the best. And so if you look at it before in the 80s, Iran and Iraq had the top 4 economies in the world. So they've quite clearly demonstrated that they're not low IQ. They're able to basically create a very strong economy very easily, and they're able to do it now as well. So the point being to say all that, the reason they've got a problem with Iran is nothing else other than the fact that they're afraid of Iran. This is why when I was debating Dr. Roy, well, it wasn't really meant to be a debate, but it ended up being a debate. But when I was debating him, this is the points I smashed him on, because he's like full-on pro-monarchist, which is kind of weird because he's like really pro-Palestine. But the point being that this is like where they all have flaws, because it is that when you look at Iranian history, they very much were open to having good trade relations with the United States of America.
Yeah, the monarchists are always, what I've realized with the monarchists is like they always have like a completely skewed perception. And, you know, honestly, it's not even that they like the monarchy. It's just that they hate the Islamic regime more. Like, that's what I've realized. It's like, they don't even like, it's like they're just like, you know what? I hate the Islamic regime so much that I'm just going to say that the Shah was better. Okay, were you alive when the Shah was in power? No, but I heard from like my dad they were kind of better. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say that the Shah was better, right? So it's like, almost every Iranian that is like Shah, like pro Shah, is like a diaspora Iranian that lives in America or Canada or the West or whatever, and they're completely out of fucking touch, bro. They're completely out of touch. And it's like, I look at it like, if you're cheering for, the Israelis to bomb your country, like something's wrong with you, because the Israelis don't give a fuck about Iran at all. Okay. Matter of fact, Washington Post posted this the other day. I saw this on the news. The Washington Post admitted that the Israelis knew that the Iranians would get fucking slaughtered for trying to uprise, and they still told them to do it. Fucking came out a couple days ago on the Washington Post. I don't know if anybody saw it, but they knew they would get slaughtered, dude. They still told them, oh yeah, rise up against your government. Yeah, just rise up against your government. Yeah. It's like, okay, bro. Okay. Like the most Jewish behavior ever. Like ever. So absolutely fucking crazy. Absolutely crazy. Then they pushed the lie that it's like 40,000 that were killed. Look, I think the Iranian government put out 3,117. I don't think it was 3,117. It might have been more. I don't trust any government, but to say it's 40,000 is fucking insane. That is retarded, low IQ. And if the Iranian regime really killed 40,000 of their own people, innocent people, there probably would have been an uprising when the Trump and Israel called for it. But there was an uprising. It made them rally around the flag even more so. So, like, the evidence just doesn't add up. It does not add up. If you really killed 40,000 innocent people, trust me, the government probably would have gotten overthrown, but it's not true. So it was just propaganda to try to get them to rise up and take over. But they even admitted that they would probably get slaughtered trying, and that's what ended up happening. So like that dumbass wrestler that was fighting for democracy as they claim, bro chopped up police officers thinking that he was going to really start a revolution, and he didn't. Idiot. And then he got hung, I think yesterday for that. Which is crazy how in Western media, no one talks about why he got hung. I've seen a couple people, that Afterburner retard, Max Afterburner, he literally said, yo, they killed this guy who was just trying to, get democracy. And I was like, dude, are you not going to tell your audience why they killed him? Like, what the fuck?
You know that number that you just said that the IRGC gave? They had posted, like, this was from the last time they tried to revolt, which was like, what, in 2021, I think, when that lady got killed. They had posted not posted, but they had a whole list of people that they were going to do that, and that same number. And there was a lot of the people that were going through trials and all that stuff, but they stuck to that list. And then whoever was found guilty at the end of it, that's who they ended up executing. So I think their number was accurate because it was documented. Like the names and everything were documented.
Oh yeah. I know they put their like ID numbers and everything else like that. And I've heard that from people like, hey, we saw funerals that kind of matched up with it, blah, blah, blah. My thing is I just never trust governments. So like, especially like, because both parties have an incentive to like, obviously the Iranians have a strong incentive to underreport, and the U.S. has a strong incentive, and the Israelis have a strong incentive to overreport. But I think the fact that the Israelis came out and admitted that they were going to get slaughtered, like, is damning evidence to show that obviously it wasn't true. It wasn't, 40,000 was not true. They just wanted to rally the idiots to go ahead and do their bidding, and then they did their bidding and they got hung in the process. So, it is what it is, man. It's this war is retarded, doesn't benefit us, and yeah. But no, go ahead, Suleiman.
I mean, for me, it's like, I don't, you're never going to trust either side. They both have a motive to either minimize or maximize. That being said, in order to debunk the position of Iran, the 3,117, it's very simple. They just need to, it's very easy for someone who's a monarchist or anyone to produce a list of, let's say, 500 people or 1,000 people who died, who are not on the list. And then that'll demonstrate that list isn't accurate. So, or even a few thousand. Do you know what I mean? Because Iran's given the list of all the names of all 3,117. So now you can just add to that and give a list of like 1,000 people, and then you'll be able to demonstrate that there was more than 3,000 people who died.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying the monarchists can't even produce any names that weren't on that list already.
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, that's an interesting point. Never thought about that. Is that the only? Because I haven't seen. Actually, that's a good point, because I haven't seen any monarchists produce a list. Even though they said that there's 30 or 40,000, I haven't seen them produce any names at all.
Yeah. what they say is, they're like, yeah, it's my uncle who died, and he's like, okay, what's his details? He's like, yeah, he's my uncle. I can't give you the details.
Of course. They couldn't even give a name or some shit like that, so you can cross reference it and see that the thing.
No, they'll give a name. It'll be like Abdullah Hassan, and you'll be like, what? Like, what does that mean? Give me his ID. Give something we can verify. Well, Abdullah, the Hassan, that's like a million. Muhammad Abdullah, there's like a million Muslims called Muhammad Abdullah. Just want to welcome Ryan onto the stage as well. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm good. You know, if you look at a list like September 11th, you can get all 2,977 names and no more. And that's all you'd have to do. They have lists. And it was ridiculous when like CBS and stuff, they kept having these nice round numbers. First, it was like 3,000, 40,000, maybe 60,000. It's made up. Larry Ellison BS. And you can see it coming. You can see the scripts, the same thing they did in Syria. They're like, oh, Assad's cracking down on protesters. Same thing they did in Ukraine when they had snipers shooting people in Maidan. So this is completely astroturf. We knew it. You could see it coming from 6 million miles away. Everyone knew Iran was the next target. Everyone knew they'd manufacture some kind of pretext. And then when it comes, and it's all the usual voices and ding, usual suspects saying it, you know it's a lie.
Yeah, no doubt. What
I am enjoying watching Conrad burn, the oil in Haifa burn, more Merkava tanks that tried to go into Lebanon burn. It's just the best. I'm over here dancing. There's just nothing better.
How many tanks today, Ryan? Because I've not been.
I lost count. Like I used to be like, ooh, 12, and then it got to the point where it's like, oh, another tank. Was like, it just, of course, I quit counting. They're just wiping them out. And what's better is they're hitting the staging areas, and then Israel will say 118 wounded, no dead. Sure,
bro. Have you seen this type of decimation anywhere else? It's been crazy.
You know, they report the wounded because those end up in hospitals, so it's harder to hide. The ones that just get annihilated in the woods, they just leave them there. What'd you ask?
No, I'm saying, just have you seen any type of decimation like this? Like, I'm just shocked at how badly. Well, I expect them to lose, but not to be decimated in the manner they're doing in terms of Israel with the Hezbollah.
Well, if you go back and listen to my updates, what did I say? I was like, here's what's going to happen. They're going to run out of interceptors. They're going to run out of standoff munitions. Then their aircraft are going to start getting shot down. Then when it gets to the point where even rockets can do damage because they have no defense, their radar's been taken out, you're seeing what you're seeing now. Iran can just pick at will what its target is and destroy it. And they're in that phase. They're in the second part of the find out phase. And there's nothing they can do about it. They can make threats. They'll be like, we're going to bomb your energy. Like, why haven't you already? You're not, because then they will take out Saudi Arabia, UAE, and everything else.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Sorry, I meant on the ground. I meant the ground invasion by Israel.
Oh, well, a lot of people counted Hezbollah out. And I probably would have if I didn't know people in the organization. Like, we covered the Syrian conflict for 11 years, and I got a lot of good rapport with those people. And there's uprisings in Syria right now, Al-Qaeda fighting Al-Qaeda. It's just delicious. But one of the things we knew, but we sat quiet about, was that a lot of armaments from the SAA before Jelani took over made its way across the border to Hezbollah, because you had this giant black market for weapons. I mean, they couldn't use them. Their officer class had been paid off, blah, blah, blah. But they were like, they don't want to, they still hate these people. And so a lot of fighters and expertise ended up in Hezbollah and Iraq. A lot of the Shia militia in Iraq fought in the Syrian war. Those people are seasoned and they got real weapons. And then another black market that trickled its way down was out of Ukraine. A lot of them cornets and stuff, and some of the anti-tank personnel they have came from there, because Ukraine, in the beginning, it was an armor war, and it quickly went to like tree lines and drones because the nature of the gear they have up there. So all this surplus went south, And Hezbollah has been buying it up, but they made the most crucial step because they had a huge fuck up last time, which is telecommunications. So they got rid of cell phones, all that, because Israel's able to find exactly where they were, listen to them. So they got rid of all the anything high tech because Israel completely dominates that field. So when they got rid of the phones, now they can go in the hills and disappear. And Israel can't do guerrilla fighting. Like, they can't go hill to hill and do tactics and fight. They run. They're undisciplined. You know, it's the Israeli diaper force. They do precision strikes and assassination well because you're just broadcasting your signal when you have a cell phone. So they adjusted. They got rid of that. And they kept what worked, got rid of what didn't work. Israel didn't adjust at all. They thought, oh, Hezbollah's out, pager attack, they're weak. Hezbollah got bolstered by the Syrian army. The Latakian was still intact. Like, that was 12 days. You know, they went and took Aleppo, Hama, and Al-Qaeda takes over the country. But they didn't really wipe out the Syrian army. What happened was the officer class got paid off. The sanctions that devastated that country. It's not like they lost on the battlefield. They just decided not to fight. Like, we can't win a protracted war, and it's not worth dying. It's, you know, they saw the writing on the wall. So they went and joined Hezbollah. And they have those weapons. And they've got enough money, and it's pretty low tech what they're doing. And they have the components for drones. That's the other thing. The second thing they learned: first, get rid of your telecommunications. Israel spies on all. The second one, drones are king. They had a huge impact in the 12-day war that neither side realized how valuable drones were, how effective they were. And so they've been able to make their own. And the land bridge they used to think, we got to get ballistic missiles. We got to get more of these. And those are nice, but those are hard. Those are complicated. You got to smuggle. Drones are easy. They don't need Iran. They can make them themselves. And that's all they've been doing. Make drones go burr. They've been making them. And those low costs, like Katyusha rockets and things, the same thing Hamas has. They realize without Iron Dome, those work too. So, and they've just been peppering them. And Israel can't bring its defense systems into southern Lebanon. So once Israel goes on the offense, they're even more vulnerable. They've been getting picked apart, but they can't sit there and play defense either, because then they're just eating it from drones. So they're forced to go into Lebanon, and they're getting it's like every move. They must have Russian intel or something, because they know exactly where the Israelis are, how many they are, know everything. They've got superior intelligence. I'm like, from a militia group, somebody's tapping them in. Somebody's giving them intel. They don't have that level of SRI, but yeah, every staging area gets blasted. You can look at a pattern in the reports. Staging area here, staging area there, peppered with rockets, peppered with drones. You see it all day. They know their rescue. They know their timing. They know how they evac, and they sit and wait for them. They'll wait for the helicopter to come, land, pick up their injured, and then blast it on its way out. It's perfect play. And because Israel's not sharing information and not broadcasting their losses, they're not adapting, they're not adjusting, but it's getting out. That's why you see all these Israelis fleeing to Cyprus. I feel sorry for Cyprus. But yeah, you got them all leaving. Like, they can't just flee to southern Israel. That's not safe there either. Obviously, they found that out today. So they're going west. Even Dimona got smacked, which is just so it's so satisfying. Wait, are you saying Israel has a nuclear weapons program? I thought they said you didn't.
Do we know if they actually attacked their like nuclear facility? I know they attacked Dimona, obviously, but I'm assuming they also more than likely probably attacked the nuclear facility. Do we know?
No, I mean, they're not trying to start a Chernobyl or anything, but what would be hilarious is to attack the cooling system only and let it blow up. But I don't see them hitting the nuclear reactor or anything like that. But they took out that area, and they took out power feeding to it. So the Israelis got to scramble now to prevent that from going into a fission reaction.
So we were talking about this earlier, Ryan, that if Trump hits the power plant, what's your prediction? I was giving my predictions earlier for the audience and Suleiman, but what do you think is going to happen if he actually does go through and attack their power plants in the next 48 hours?
then Iran will hit the reactor, and Iran will hit the northern oil fields and the western oil fields in Saudi Arabia, and they will obliterate everything that's left in the UAE. Those people will be broke. They will lose tens of billions of dollars, and it will be unfixable. That's why he's like, well, we're going to take Grog Island. I'm like, you could bomb the oil right now. Why you want to go capture it? And what are you going to do? Stand next to it and make some threats? If those threats were valuable, then go ahead and hit it. He's not going to. The entire planet would come down on Trump if they attack Iran's energy and get the clapback that Iran has promised. And everything Iran has promised has happened.
Yeah.
The problem is he's retarded, so he might do it anyway.
I was saying the same exact thing, dude. I literally, because someone's asking me, like, do you really think he's going to do it? And I was like, you know what scares me is that he actually might do it, and then that's going to be fucking doomsday. Like, I think, so you think they're going to hit do you think they're going to hit the Gulf? You don't think they're going to hit Israel too?
The Gulf's way more important. I mean, Israel, they're going to hit everything in Israel eventually, even if they have to bomb them all year long. It's the Gulf. They're like, the Gulf, they try to negotiate with. They're like, hey, don't touch ours, we won't touch yours. Like, do you want to be a viable country when this war is over or not? Because if we blow that up, like, we can take the damage. You can't. And so whatever pressure they have on Trump, the thing is, all the Gulf states combined, plus all his allies, China, everything, don't have as much influence as Israel.
Ryan, did you see the Trump statement where he gave Iran?
I'm going to refresh. My thing is cutting in and out, guys. I'll be right back.
No problem. Ryan, did you see Trump's statement where he gave Iran 48 hours to open the Strait of Hormuz?
Yeah, I mean, why not 1 hour? Like, in 2 days, I'm going to do this. You better listen to me. He's just like, this isn't your child, okay? You don't give ultimatums like that in a war. Like, bring it. They're like, oh, we're going to open in 48 hours. Like, why don't you end the war in 48 hours, and then we'll open the strait, you know? We're winning. You don't get to negotiate with us. I dare you. Like, if you hit Iran's energy, 109%, they will hit your energy. And that's lights out for the entire Gulf. No, and they won't be able to finance terrorists and do all the wonderful things they like to do. It'll be over. And it's not coming back. It's not like, well, once the war ends, then the flow of oil will start again and property will go up and that. No, the oil will not be there. You physically will not have refineries. You won't have LNG. Some of it will have been burned. It's just sand. Okay, you're not going to have these multi-billion-dollar industries. They will be gone. You cannot build them back in a day. You're going to be out for years, and you're not going to have the capital to do it. So, like, you're not going to be a state. You understand? It is completely over if you touch Iran's energy. He's so stupid. He'll do it anyway.
But I just can't see him doing it, Ryan. I know what you're saying, like, if he's retarded or whatever, but that would just be, that's like worse. That's probably worse than using a nuclear bomb, because you literally take out the whole world.
The world will exist. It just won't have the standard of living it had when it had oil. But yeah, somebody's got to get through to him, get past Mark Levine and this Jewish cabal that's in his ear, and tell him, sir, don't make threats like that, because they're not going to open the strait, because it's their existence at stake. So that ain't happening. And all you're doing is like, oh, well, let's just bring everything down with us. Like, why? What do you gain? Why do you care about Iran's ballistic missiles and the fact that they can demolish Israel? That is their problem, not the U.S.'s problem. You had a good thing. You had all the Gulf states on your side, all of them. You had all that oil and LNG. You had it all marked in dollars. You didn't have to do anything. Iran was already falling apart. Their currency had collapsed. They had internal turmoil. And you morons decided, I know, let's kill the Ayatollah. That'll make things better.
For me, that was the biggest proof that Israel's in charge, because if America was in charge, that's what you do. You choke them out. It takes time. Might take a year, might take a year and a half, might take 2 years, let's say. But you choke them out, you'd actually win. The fact that they sped it up so quickly based on Israel's timeline was even more evident. That's how I knew that it was going to be as soon as well, is because I knew it was based on Israel's
And keep in
timeline
mind too,
rather than
the
America's
whole
timeline.
intelligence community told them not to do it. Like they all told him, like, just so you know, if you kill the Ayatollah, the chances of a regime change are probably not going to happen. It's probably going to make them rally around the flag. They gave him a report that was declassified. I think on March 7th it was declassified, but they gave it to him about a week before he struck on February 28th. And they told him that this has a very low chance of actually effectuating regime change. And he did it anyway, dude. And Tulsi Gabbard and the intel community told them they don't have nuclear weapons. They don't have the capacity to build the nuclear weapons. You destroyed and or set back their ability to build the nuclear weapons. And he still came in saying it's nuclear weapons. Like fucking retarded, dude. Incredible. The only thing I think of here is like you just owned by the Jews. It's that simple.
And I do think that
He knew it.
Yes, sorry.
He knew they didn't have the bomb. He knew. It's just something to say because you need a pretext. You can't be like, well, Israel told us we have to. Like you have to make something up that sounds like a threat.
And I was gonna say that too. Like he used that as a pretext for the American population, because if he told the American population, "Oh, we're attacking them because of their ballistic missile program or the proxies," they'd be like, "Well, the proxies aren't a threat to us, and the ballistic missiles don't reach the United States. Why the fuck are we going to war?" So he had to use the nuclear bomb threat to justify the war. But like, yeah, we all know that the whole nuclear angle was bullshit. Kushner and Witkoff were there just whacking off, like not even really there to negotiate. And we attacked them twice during the middle of a negotiation. So like
they said Saddam Hussein reconstituted his nuclear weapons program and that he was getting yellow cake uranium from Niger. And who was they? Huh? Who, when we say, well, they said this about Saddam Hussein and they said this about Niger.
And we're talking about because they get the yellow cake uranium. That's the funny part, is they're the ones that got the yellow cake uranium for their nuclear program.
Well, they're the ones that stole highly enriched uranium and all sorts of things and Krytron all from the United States, made a movie about it. It's them. They killed Kennedy because of this. Like everything they accuse others of doing is stuff they've done themselves.
Yeah, it's nuts, dude.
They said Assad gassed his own people. Like I'm so sick of it because the lies aren't very good. Like I would understand if it was really clever, but it's not. It's like real simple.
I want you to talk about the Assad gas. I know this. We're talking on Israel, Iran, U.S. But real quick, can you go through the Assad gassing his own people, because this is something that's been pushed in the mainstream Western media for a very, very long time, and no one likes to hear this. But can you quickly go over that? That myth.
Yeah, Assad did not gas his own people. I actually have there used to be a video of me. It was banned from YouTube because they erased my channel, but it's on alt censor. They saved it before the gassing occurs. The first one they blamed. I made a video showing that Al Qaeda had gas. It had Turkish labels on it. They were killing rabbits. They had them like in an aquarium, and they were like, "What?" They were like, "Look, we got the gas." Because Obama made a red line saying, "Don't you dare use chemical weapons." Basically like telling Al Qaeda, just use chemical weapons. We'll blame it on Assad. It's like there were more than one incidents of it, like in Ghouta in August, but when the UN was there to inspect the first incident, there was another incident. And I'm like, does this make any sense? It's like 72 people died. They're Shia, Alawites. They're on Assad's side. It doesn't make any difference battlefield-wise for 70 people to die at all. All it does is give an American a pretext to be like, Assad has to get rid of his chemical weapons. You can't have WMDs. And they negotiated. The Russians are like, just get rid of the chemical weapons. But then they started bombing ISIS themselves. The Russians did. But it's just, there was no evidence. And then when it does come out, like physically, you can see the trajectory and stuff that it came from the militants' area. The gas that was used, it didn't come from Assad's forces. It didn't matter. Because like by the time you debunk lie number 1, they are on lie number 2. By the time you do that one, they're on lie 3 and 4. And no one cared. It was, Obama's war. The left completely supported the war in Syria. Even some Palestinians fell for it because they're Sunni tribalists. It's just disgusting. He never used chemical weapons, and if he did, he isn't going to use it to kill a couple dozen people. Like, it was dumb, but it was a pretext to get rid of his deterrent. And once the deterrent was gone, You saw what happened in Syria. It was very interesting, though, that the first thing that these Al Qaeda forces attacked was Syria's air defense. Why? Al Qaeda doesn't have an air force. What do they care about air defense for? Because their air force is the Israeli Air Force. And Israel routinely bombs Syria. It would never make the news. Oh, Israel did another sortie and blew things up at Damascus airport or whatever. Constantly bombing things and coordinating with their ground forces, which are these Al-Qaeda forces. And by Al-Qaeda forces, I'm talking about Al-Nusra Front and Aral al-Sham and so on and so on. These ISIS groups, financed by the very Gulf states that are now on fire. The Muslim Brotherhood was in it early. That was Qatar. Like, these groups were not Syrian rebels. They were not the moderate rebels, whatever they called them. They were head chopping lunatics, pumped out of factories where the CIA radicalized madrasas and imams that would go along with this Salafist plan of Islam to topple Assad. They wanted power. These are mercenaries. Same crap they did in Chechnya twice. They just paid mercenaries from all over the place, not even from Syria, not even from Chechnya either. That's what happened. And I even went through how they got the arms to them through Purple Shovel and all these companies. There's a film we did about it. Myself and Andrew Illingworth. Is called Syria, Israel's Invisible Hand. It's free. And we went over the whole thing, including the gas attacks.
Only thing I'd say, the only thing I'd add to that, Ryan, and I agree with everything you said, is it wasn't just Salafist. It was like almost even, it was even moderate Sunnis. Like, everyone was falling for the trap. Like, I remember I was literally the only person who was on the other side, on the Sunni side, like literally having that position.
Well, they just weren't loud. Like, Assad even had a Palestinian brigade, from all the refugees that had gone to Syria, and they were Sunni. But yeah, you're right. It wasn't just Salafists, but that was the leadership, you could say. And they had been doing that. The CIA had been making like factories of Al Qaeda since the first incident in the first Afghan war. That's what Al Qaeda means. It means the database, the base, or the short for the database of diaspora fighters that they brought in through the Bin Ladens to fight in Afghanistan. And a lot of them were Saudis, but they're from wherever, Tunisia, Yemen, whatever. They got them all over the place. And it was cannon fodder for the U.S.
And Ryan, what
financed through BCCI and all that, the same crap they did for the Contra affair in Nicaragua. They used mercenaries there. Contras, that was not some organic uprising or anything. They were punishing the Sandinistas because they'd overthrown the Somoza family, who had been the traditional dictators that did all the weapons laundering for the Israelis to get around the War Assets Administration and import-export laws. That's what happened there. It's always them. Like, you always trace it back. It's like, or maybe it's MIC or like the oil, or like it's the fucking Jews.
It's interesting. I also heard a very Sam Parker put out a really interesting article on how the Jews were involved in Vietnam as well, keeping the military-industrial complex up for them during the Yom Kippur War. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting read. And how they benefited from that. And, and obviously they had their airlift and everything else like that. But it's interesting because, like, when you trace it back, you're always able to find some type of connection there. And then as far as like the whole Assad thing, yeah, I mean, when they said that they killed Alawites, I was like, this doesn't make sense. Those are literally his people. Like, what? So I always thought that the whole Assad gassing his own people, something was off. And then, yeah, like you said, the fact that the UN was there on that day and that's when it happened, that also doesn't make sense from a strategic and tactical perspective.
And that's on purpose. It's so on the nose and so dumb. It's like a Prince Andrew interview. He's like, don't even ask me about this. It's all you're going to get out of me. I swear to God, they make the lie transparent on purpose. It's just another middle finger to everyone intelligent. They're like, look, we're just going to say this and the plebs will believe it because they don't have the capacity to think at all. And what can you do about it? Nothing. We run the media. This is before social media, really. All these lies about Iraq now, especially. Even during the Syrian conflict, like if you said anything pro-Assad on Twitter, you were gone. Same thing. Even the early Ukraine conflict, it was still like that. Until Elon bought Twitter, there just was you couldn't tell the truth about anything ever.
Yeah, dude, you can't even, I remember, you couldn't even show like Palestinian homes being bulldozed on YouTube. Like if you showed that shit, like in the West Bank or anything like that, like you'd get fucking cooked, man.
They pulled my video called "Palestinians Are People Too." That was the title.
Really? YouTube.
Yeah, it was just like I was just showing Palestinians playing soccer and doing normal things. I'm like, look, they're just like you and me. Like they're not like, oh, no, 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 no. Like that's how they're portrayed. I was like, look, man, they're just doing normal stuff, going to the mall, like all the, I was like the most neutral video ever. Palestinians are people too, and I was showing playgrounds and just normal stuff.
The worst,
Very, very akin to what Michael Moore did to
the worst
Iraq.
thing about Assad
Yeah.
is that he was actually such a secularist. He wasn't even that religious in the sense of his country wasn't a religious country. His country was he brought in 1 million Palestinians and gave them equal citizenship, something none of the other Arab countries did.
He had a female vice president. So like ours against women's rights. I'm like, he has a female vice president.
And in addition, don't attack him, Ryan. And then in addition to that, he had he was like basically his country was the hub of Sunni Islam. Like most of the Sunni scholars, who are not Salafist, would go to Syria to study. My own view on him is that I do actually believe he was Sunni himself, and I prove that. I even did back in them days. I was literally like $10,000 reward if you can disprove that this guy wasn't a Sunni, and nobody was able to do it. So this whole lies that they've created about him is just fake propaganda, because in reality, his country was the hub of Sunni Islam. He was very secular. He was studied in the United Kingdom. He was never meant to be the leader.
He just wanted to be a doctor. He just wanted to be an eye doctor, man.
Yeah, exactly.
They fucked him up. In London.
He gave a right.
His brother died in a car crash,
Exactly.
and he ends up with it. And the Alawites, it's a Shia sect. They're practically Christian, but there's a whole bunch of different sects that did not want to. They're like a confederation of non-Sunnis from Druze and Alawites and other types of Shia groups and stuff. And they didn't want this giant Sunni majority ruling over them. So, but there wasn't some theological dispute at all. That wasn't the problem. The U.S. fostered that sectarian inter-Muslim conflict on purpose. It wasn't an issue. It wasn't an issue in Iraq either. They had, intermarriage between these groups and stuff prior to invasion. Then you get this delineation, like the Kurds are here, the Shia are here, the Sunni are here, like in Mosul and blah, 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 blah. Like, but it wasn't like that before. You could visit Iraq before this, Sunni and Shia had married each other and stuff. I'm like, it wasn't a problem. They foster sectarian violence intentionally, the same way they stoke up racial violence or whatever works wherever you are is what they're going to use. And in the Middle East, it's religious sectarianism.
Can I give an Alawite perspective?
In America, it's ethnic stuff because no one can. Like Catholics and Protestants in America don't have any beef at all, but in Europe they did. Like they really care. Now not so much because most of Europe is atheist, but in the U.S. it's just Christian, and no one can. They don't even know the difference between each other. You ask them what is the difference between a Baptist and a Methodist, like they don't even know. Because it doesn't matter. They're not really deeply religious. It's not like their real religion is consumerism. And I'd argue the same thing in Dubai and places like that. Like your real religion is consumerism. And you just have this facade of like, oh, we dress this way, whatever. I'm like, you're not Muslim.
Yeah, the Gulf states are very, very materialistic, man. That's kind of what it is. Obviously they're very wealthy. It's all about the money. I mean, if you think about it, yeah, money is their thing because they a lot of them, like UAE, for example, signed on with the Abraham Accords. They betrayed the Muslim world by doing that, right? A lot of these countries did, to include Sudan, by the way, got cucked as well. So, by signing on and accepting looking at the Israelis, obviously a lot of that was either to maintain the peace or to get money from the U.S. and aid, just like Jordan and Egypt. So we got Anwar Sadat assassinated. They looked at him as a traitor. So yeah, dude, the Israelis are.
They paid off Mubarak for the longest time. Egypt was the second largest recipient of U.S. aid after Israel.
Yep.
The only break in that was in '97. It was Turkey, but that's when they were fostering the ethnic cleansing of Kurds in Turkey.
Yeah. No, it's
with
nuts,
Sudan,
man.
they blackmailed them. I think it's a slightly different situation, personally.
Well, what do you think is so Ryan, going back to the war game planning here. So let's assume Tuesday hits or whatever, Trump bombs a power plant, the biggest power plant in Iran. What's going to be the play-by-play for the Iranians? What are they striking next specifically? Let's assume Trump does hit their biggest power plant. Just one, though. What's going to happen next?
Saudi Arabia, up in flames. They're vulnerable.
What part of
That's
Saudi
that.
Arabia
It's
is gonna
like
hit?
it's not even Almaco. They'll hit their biggest refinery. They've already
Okay.
tagged it, but not. They'll be like, look, obviously we could have blown this whole thing up, just like they tagged Dimona, but they didn't hit the reactor. They're like, we can. So what are you doing? These are warning shots. Iran has been super measured, considering all the abuse they've been putting through. This is the fourth time they were attacked. They didn't react like this the first time. True Promise 1, 2. Like they didn't.
Yeah.
Like, hey, they have been more like the world cannot complain. Like they have been very measured in their responses, and this is it. It's like, okay, you guys completely crossed the line. You had America attack us, so we're going to attack all their bases on all the countries adjacent to us, and we're going to hit Israel. The U.S. has a way out. The U.S. actually doesn't rely on the Strait of Hormuz. They could walk, and they would be okay. They lose a lot of money. Like America would be okay. Their donor class would lose a lot of money and all that, but America would survive this.
Now here's my thing
Israel,
with that,
no.
Ryan, why I think they're not going to leave. Even though I agree with you that is a political off ramp and the best decision to make. Trump walk away, say I killed the Ayatollah, we destroyed their infrastructure, whatever, and then get the fuck out. But here's why I think he's not going to leave. Because if he were to leave, the Iranians are going to claim it as a victory, and then also that would force the Gulf states to basically put them in a compromising situation where I don't think they're going to allow U.S. bases to be rebuilt, because the Iranians are going to say, well, okay, we're still in power here. If you rebuild these bases, we're going to continue to bomb them.
You
until
don't think
maintain
that
these
line's already been crossed?
Well, here's the thing.
Certainly, Bahrain's not going to have them back in again. Like
Of
that
course
one's
not.
definitely off the tip.
Of
Yeah,
course not. But what I'm saying is, but this is what I'm trying to tell you. The reason why they're not going to back out is because the Gulf states are going to say the only way you're going to be able to maintain bases here at this point is you are going to have to go in and topple the regime. Because if you don't topple the regime, their security is going to be permanently it's going to be permanently in jeopardy, because as long as military bases are there, the Iranians are not going to allow that to exist. So it's either A, Trump goes in and topples the regime, or B, he backs out, but the U.S. bases are coming alongside it. And then I just don't see a scenario where the Iranians were going to allow them to keep bases there.
let them. Yeah, then the bases leave. So what?
But that's going to be we know Trump, like a rational actor, would leave. But that's going to be looked at as like,
Oh,
our
Trump
ability
could
to
say,
protect power in the Middle East.
I'm so mighty and powerful. I took out Iran as a threat, so we no longer need bases there because I destroyed them. Whatever he's got to say.
Yeah, but
because those bases are already gone.
Though that would be the smart thing to do. We know his ego. He's going to get made fun of. They're going to roast him. They're going to say, you are the only president that got kicked out of the Middle East. We fought so hard to get him a stable hold in the Middle East. You got us kicked out of there by waging a war, and then you had to run like a scalded dog with your tail between your legs. That's what they're going to tell him, and that's why he's not going to be able to walk away. So that's why I think boots on the ground is inevitable, bro. I think boots
That's
on the
why I'm
ground is
not going to
inevitable.
tell. I'll be like, yep, you won, and we don't even need to be in the Middle East anymore. You're such a peaceful president. You won through strength, whatever. They're going to have to go either way because they're physically being destroyed. So what do you want to do? You're more of a threat by having a U.S. presence there than not.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to make that decision. They will kick him out themselves. So he's going to have to spin it in some way of like, I wasn't thrown out.
Well,
I walked away myself.
I think well, here's the thing. This is the only way I think he gets to stay in the Gulf. The only way I think he gets to stay in the Gulf at this point is he has to get rid of the regime. That's it. Or the bases are cooked. They're not going to let him back in.
He can't get rid of the regime. They've already chalked away. They're doing scorched earth now. Regime change is done. They're on like plan D, throwing stuff against the wall that doesn't stick. You can send in the 82nd Airborne. They will die. You can send, if you're going to trickle Marines in at 2,000 to 5,000 at a time, they're just going to get killed. Like, what's your plan? You want to go across the Zagros Mountains with 300,000 people? Like, no. That, like, the logistics are a nightmare. You can't even get to the point to prep for that without getting harassed by missiles the whole time. Israel's running to the UN complaining about cluster munitions. Like, isn't that rich? Like, take your own medicine, faggots. Like, you guys, like, you all didn't sign on to that treaty against cluster weapons anyway, and you use them, and white phosphorus, and a number of other things that are banned. So don't give me this crap. Like, you can't negotiate without leverage, which they don't have. So he's making these ultimatums, and this is just like him running his mouth and saying, we're going to send in the Kurds. We're going to send escorts in. We're going to take Krog Island. Like, it's hot air. He is a pompous ass that has no idea what's going on. He won't listen to anybody who does. He surrounded himself with a clique of Zionists that just tell him good news that isn't true. And at the end of the day, the problem with lying is it doesn't match reality. And eventually you have to face the truth because it actually exists. You can lie and you can fool people, but then they're like, how come all our bases are on fire and the Strait is not open and Iran didn't run out of weapons and all the things you said are not, obviously they are not true, demonstrated by the fact that they are taking newer, bigger missiles and hitting Israel with those. The exact opposite of what you said was going to happen is actually happening. He can't run away from it forever.
Like, and the other thing also that I was going to say is, you know, the only way, like I said, that I think that we can continue to exist in the Gulf at this point is we would have to topple the regime, then be able to maintain our bases there. But that would be such an embarrassment for him to walk away at this point because the Gulf states would kick us out. Because obviously that'd be a huge security risk if the Iranians stay in power like they are. But yes, I agree with you that you know, he's gonna have to boots on the ground, and that's gonna be NL. So I just
he can't. He doesn't have the means to change the regime. What are you going to kill 90 million people? That's off the table. That's why he's threatening their energy. He doesn't know what to do. He knows he can run his mouth and act like, well, we'll invade on the ground, but they're all like, no, don't do that. Like, so yeah, he could blow up the energy. He can, and they will blow up the Gulf energy back, and they will continue to pound Israel anyway. The whole world will be
I got a
pissed at
retweet in my
Trump.
chat. I want you to cook him. He's saying nobody's walking away. Lots going on in Iran, and now to get the people to rise up. What's your response to that?
Okay. You're still going with the people rise up in Iran. That ain't happening. That's not happening. Iran is, when you attack a country, you know, for the fourth time in a row, they rally around the leader. Iran has the Mosaic defense system as they split it up into 31 independent areas with 14 states that can act on their own. They don't have centralized leadership. The people are going to rise up on Iran. No, Iran is winning. You know, they see the Gulf states on fire. Israel took their largest losses today, admitting like hundreds, plural, wounded. Don't know how many dead. Hezbollah is also winning on their front. Why would you now, while you're winning a war, and you've got states like Japan and Korea negotiating to get their oil out and to work with you and to buy it from Iran? Like, that's a big move.
Oh, let's
so
talk about Japan.
you got to suddenly turn around.
About this yesterday. Let's talk about Japan, because Japan, literally, the prime minister was in the U.S. like a day or two ago, and then I saw that she went ahead and had some back channel talks with the Iranians. What happened there?
Well, you know, the Iranian foreign minister used to be the ambassador to Japan from 2008 to 2011. He loves Japan. And from 2007 to 2019, Japan, when NATO was sanctioning Iran, Japan bought oil from Iran and they bought it in yen. They did not use dollars. They used their own currency. All these people saying they're going to use the yuan, I'm like, no, they're going to use yen, the same thing they did before. But they supported them in their time of need. They bought it from 07 to 019 using yen. And they approached them again. As soon as Trump made that Pearl Harbor comment, the Japanese foreign minister went and met and said, we will buy your oil and we'll use yen. And Iran said, fine. And South Korea is negotiating yesterday. I don't know the results of that. I'm sure. I don't see why. Because same thing. South Korea has never stopped buying oil from Iran. They got 10% of their oil from Iran, even this year, up, you know, to January or whatever. So they'd be willing to use yuan or whatever, their own currency. They're not going to use Chinese anything, but they'll use their own currency. The issue is, how much surplus does Iran have? Because we don't really know. They can't possibly make up for the gap of all the oil and gas that's been taken offline from the Gulf states, but they might be enough to mitigate some of the damage, you know. And then Japan also got a waiver to buy oil from Russia.
I was told that they're literally charging ships $2 million to pass from friendly nations.
I imagine they will set up a toll, but you know what? Panama does that. Egypt does that. Turkey does that. Everyone. So why not? Yeah.
Yeah, they've let like freighter ships pass. They're the only place that like a big strait like that hasn't charged. So yeah, I mean it's kind of crazy because you know, for all the Trump retards, like they are all like, oh yeah, this is America first because this is supposed to weaken the Chinese and weaken the Russians. Dude, we've weakened the Chinese and the Russians. Sorry, we've strengthened them. Excuse me, with this whole fucking retarded foreign policy and this war. Like we're supposed to be in and out. Didn't happen. Russian gas and oil is being sold. Sanctions are being lifted on the Iranians. The Iranians are doing a toll, you know, basically doing a toll now. I did not know that about.
And you weaken the dollar.
Yeah, you've
Like
weakened
you're threatening to weaken the dollar anyway. People are flooding into it because of all the other instability because of the war. People are selling off their gold. They're getting oil futures and so on. But yeah, Japan made a deal with Iran. And like as soon as he said that crap about Pearl Harbor, they're like, I mean, she was looking at her watch. That's the signal. Like that's extremely rude in Japan. These are moral people. They don't yell and they don't act like they just do very subtle things. But you could look like if you lived in Japan and you saw her reaction, her taking a deep breath and looking at her watch, it was like that's basically giving you both middle fingers. She was pissed.
That's the other thing I was gonna say. Like that Pearl Harbor joke probably didn't land well. I imagine Japanese don't have the same sense of humor as we do here in the States.
Well, it's not just a joke. It didn't answer the question. It was a very serious question. Why didn't you inform your allies that you were about to do this?
Yeah.
Because some of them were left with their dick in the wind. Vietnam and the Philippines and India didn't have reserves in place because Vietnam got almost all its oil exclusively from Kuwait, and they can't now. You know, and it's just like, why didn't you tell your allies? And he was like, well, you didn't tell us about a surprise. We're like, okay, that would be informing your enemy. Like telling Iran you're about to bomb them. It would be like telling Americans we're about to bomb Pearl Harbor, which you knew was coming because you'd put an oil embargo on Japan. The SS Ward had sank a Japanese mini sub already. You'd already been attacking them in Manchuria. You already set up a blockade. You already had intercepted the communications. You knew Pearl Harbor was not a surprise attack. Well, let's say it was. The equivalent analogy would be, why didn't you tell Iran you're about to attack them? The question was, why didn't you tell your allies about your surprise attack? The Germans knew what Japan was about to do. They informed their allies. He just didn't want to answer the question. And the reason is they didn't inform the allies because they didn't anticipate the strait being closed. They thought it'd all be over in 48 hours. We kill the Ayatollah and Iran collapse. They were that arrogant. That's the real reason. He can't say that. So he made a stupid quib about, well, you're the best masters of surprises. You didn't tell me about Pearl Harbor. I mean, fuck you, dude. Like, yeah, you don't inform your enemies what you're about to do, obviously. You know, and Japan was put in that position because they cut off 90% of their oil while they're already at war with China. And it's not, I'm not justifying what Japan did to China, but it's not like that happened out of the blue and China had never done anything to Japan for the last few centuries.
Yeah, I didn't
They
know.
can get there.
I didn't realize that the Japanese had this relationship with Japan, kind of already doing deals for buying their oil back. You said in 2007?
Yeah, when Iran was heavily sanctioned, the Japanese bought oil from Iran and they used yen. They did not use dollars. In fact, most of their oil trades were in yen from everybody. They didn't use dollars because, believe it or not, and I have to repeat this for all the dumbasses, there is no rule to say that you have to buy oil in dollars. There's no petrodollar law. People choose to use the dollar because it's tied to the largest market and has the least volatility. And when you're doing trades in the billions, any fluctuation, you could lose millions of dollars or millions of whatever you're using. They're not going to use pesos. They're not going to use baht. They're not going to use the Royale or whatever. They're using dollars because it makes sense. In fact, almost all international trades on anything, not just oil and gas, furniture, cotton, whatever, are done in dollars, euros, yen, or yuan because those are the only four stable ones.
Yeah, it's an informal. The petrodollar, people don't understand, is like a very informal agreement. It's like kind of like what they agreed to, but it's not like it's not like fully on enforced. It's a very informal agreement. But yeah, it's like
they had an agreement with Saudi Arabia, but everyone else can do what they can buy. You can do bilateral trades when Japan and Korea sell stuff to each other. They just use won and yen. They're not using dollars because they have a large enough market to do that. But if it's like Thailand and Bolivia, yeah, they're going to use dollars because both those currencies are useless. So they use dollars.
So, But yeah, I mean, it's it is what it is, man. But no, I was so yeah, so basically, okay, so the Japanese negotiated, so that fucking, that Pearl Harbor joke didn't land well, and then South
Well, they
Korea
got their
negotiating.
2 Japanese internationals released as well, or one released and the other on the way that Iran was holding. Iran is a rational, intelligent, ancient society. You can just talk to them. But America's a bully. Japan showed, look, we got our oil, we got our internationals. It's like problem solved. Dude, without bombing each other, without threatening each other. It's stupid. This is global trade. It affects everybody. There is no reason to have to do this, but they have to close the Strait of Hormuz. That's their Samson option. They have to punish these Gulf states because they abetted the crimes. Those bases, naval and air, were used to attack Iran. Of course they're going to bomb them. Yeah. Of course they're going to lock up their oil and gas. Those are the enemy.
Yeah. No, I mean, my interesting thing is, like, what was the meeting supposed to be about? I was assuming Trump was probably trying to get the Chinese to, like, excuse me. I assume Trump was trying to get the Japanese to potentially help with opening the strait, but dude, nobody from NATO agreed to help.
No, that meeting had already been scheduled, and what had happened was Ishiba, her predecessor, like the idiot Christian prime minister that almost destroyed Japan with open borders, had already made this stupid deal with the United States that she can't renege on it. But what she did is she went there, she had to sit there and swallow it for what he had already agreed to, but she added some new conditions and Trump accepted those. So it's really a win for Takaichi, but they're roasting her online, whatever, because China hates Japan and they kind of run Twitter and so with number wise. So they're making all these stupid memes like she's Attack on Titan and blah, 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 blah. Like they don't understand the nuance of what happened or how pissed off Japan is. They don't understand the culture.
What was their agreement? Was she there to negotiate? You said that another prime minister said it before.
Well, Ishiba had made this large deal on worth billions of dollars of U.S. good and trade. And that was in response to Trump's tariffs on Japanese products, which the Supreme Court ruled was illegal anyway. But that was before the ruling and so we'll see what happens if that even sticks or not. But he was using the tariff leverage because Japan survives by selling finished products. They don't have natural resources. They have no gas, no oil, no coal. They import 99% of fossil fuels. So you can't out dollar store China. So their only option left is to make quality finished products from Toyota to Sony to whatever and sell those. So they got to take raw resources, make something better out of them, and put them on the world market with a good reputation, which they did. And no one complains about their Japanese cars, where they're like, yeah, those are good. Like they know, and they're forced into that. Because you got a giant neighbor with 1.5 billion people that make all the cheap shit with the Chinese, and you don't have any. You can't sell raw goods because you don't have oil, gas. You don't have a super mega resource like Norway or any of these Gulf states. They're sitting on no oil at all. So the only option is to have high-tech, high-educated society that builds finished goods and sell them around the planet. And that's what they did.
Yeah. Okay. No, I mean, so going back to the war.
But anyway, that makes them vulnerable to the tariffs because they're like, we just won't let you bring in your cars. We just won't let you bring in your electronics. We just want to So they have to sit there and deal with America. But, like, what do you expect them to do? You can't just be like, fuck you, America. You cannot. America and China's markets are so big that you just have to obey. You have to negotiate. You can't sanction China or the United States. It will hurt you more than them.
Yeah. So here's the other thing too. So your estimate is they attack the power plant. They attack Alco in Saudi Arabia, their biggest energy thing. Do you think they're going to attack anything else besides that?
No, that's my assessment. If he does it, will be the response. I don't think I'm not sure this ultimatum is any more than the hot air that he's been saying.
Okay. So what do you think the response would be after they hit? Would Saudi Arabia respond at that point, in your opinion?
With what?
That's
go cry to America louder? Like they don't have anything. It would. Go ahead, send troops, and then we'll activate 400,000 Houthis out of Yemen, another 500,000 soldiers for you to deal with, and shut down the Red Sea. You want to do that? I don't think you do.
Yeah.
This is why it's beyond retarded. Like, because the Houthi, again, they're on hold right now. That is 400,000 fighters. That's more than Israel and America combined. Now, they don't have the high-tech stuff, but trust me, they already proved they can lock down the Red Sea by themselves without Iran.
Yeah,
So,
they haven't even,
do you want that pain? Do you really want that? Because that's another thing. Like, we can take out your oil fields and activate the Houthi. Now you have no Hormuz or Red Sea. Sit on that thumb.
Yeah, and I think, and I was saying this earlier too, that like the Gulf states aren't really going to retaliate. Like they're not going to do anything because they know that they can get.
They can't.
They literally can't.
They can't. They don't. And like Iraq, more than half of that's on Iran's side, and the rest of them are vaginas. Like who? The army of Qatar. Like get bent. Who? Saudi Arabia is the only one with a kind of semblance of anything, but they couldn't even beat Yemen right next door.
Yeah. And
that's the poorest country in the Middle East versus the wealthiest. And they couldn't get it done.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're just totally inept, bro. Totally inept. Rely on the United States way too much. And I think they're getting red-pilled right now by seeing how the United States actually can't protect them. And also that they're seeing that the United States prioritize the protection of Israel over them. Like, they're getting super fucking red-pilled now. It's actually kind of crazy.
Well, it's not that, like, Saudis are weak. It's like, as a military, they're weak because their population doesn't agree. Like, they're ruled over by princes and things. Like, they're not in it. They don't want to fight for them because it's like, that would benefit me. You know, Ahmed, whatever, from Saudi Arabia, he doesn't care. Like, they wouldn't care if the monarchs got killed tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say the people don't really support, because I was saying this earlier. I don't know what you think. I truly think that, like, the Muslim world in general probably supports the supreme leader of Iran, Khamenei, that got killed, more than MBS because of him fighting back against the Israelis, being the only one to stand up against the aggression of the Israelis, standing up for the Palestinians. So the Muslim world, in my opinion, probably has more respect for Iran than Saudi Arabia and MBS.
Certainly the diaspora do. The Muslims not living in Muslim countries that can look at it objectively, like, yeah, they're the ones fighting the Israelis.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. But yeah, so no, that'll be interesting.
I don't know how well they can voice that in places like the UAE, though. Like, they don't want to go to prison.
Not at all. No, you'll go to yeah. You can't. That's a big reason why the population doesn't say anything. But if you get one of these guys and ask them, hey, what are your thoughts? They'll motherfuck MBS, they'll motherfuck MBZ or whatever, or MZB, whatever the fuck his name is. And they'll say, no, fuck that, man. Like, these guys are pussies.
It's the snake pit.
The Jews. They'll literally say they're owned
If you
by
go
the Jews.
through the leadership, they all start with S. Their surnames. It's a weird thing we noticed the other day. Like, it's all S's. So,
all right. So
they would call them the snake pit.
So you don't think that Trump is actually going to bomb the power plant? That would be a major escalation. So what do you think is going to happen then in this case?
I don't think he will, but that's not like, oh, he ain't. I don't know that because like you have to factor in retard. That's the thing with the equation every time.
Agreed, man. Yeah, and honestly, dude, yeah, a rational actor wouldn't do it because that would be a huge escalation. But
it's like multiply by 2, divide by retards. It's Trump. He's such an embarrassment.
Yeah,
I gotta bounce. Hey, thanks for letting me on the space again. As always, I hope someone can clip this somehow. These updates, we try to get them on YouTube, but whatever. Sometimes you just want to respond right away.
But I'm on stream right now. Somebody will probably clip it and put it on. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that. This is on your stream. All right, well, clip it. I'd like to use it on Substack because it's good stuff.
All right, that's fine.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll have my guys. Somebody's clipping it right now for me in my audience. We got like 4,000 plus people watching right now live. It's 2:00 in the morning, but we still got a lot of people watching. No bots. So,
yeah, same. We got 3,200 here and about 800 on YouTube.
Nice, nice. So yeah, no, that's good. That's good. You want to shout your stuff up, Ryan, while you're here?
Well, if you clip it, I can get it like another 10,000 from Substack later. So I'll put it in there.
Give them your Substack. Tell my people where they can find you.
It's just my name, RyanDawson.org.
There you go.
And there is a free film on September 11th that, like, if you want to know what happened there, if you want to get even more angry, It's free. It's on RyanDawson.org. It's called Empire Unmasked. You can watch it, and you can follow for free too. If you want to join, it's voluntary. If you want to pay this $6 or whatever it is, you can. But that film is free, and we do updates there, and I do Epstein updates there too, because that I know it obviously, and I'm guilty of this as well. The Iran war is more important, and it's taking all the attention, but you cannot let the Epstein story die. Like, that is where they're the most vulnerable. So we do updates on that also.
Nice. Okay. No, man, no, it's good. It's good to have you on. I was gonna ask you about Tracy Moore, but I know you got to go, so I won't even go down that rabbit hole.
Oh, I already clowned that guy. Ask Sully. It's just like, I actually enjoy watching him destroy my plagiarist. I think it's funny. I agree with him. I'm like, yeah, do it.
Who is he debated? Because I know he's like, people go after him because they look at him as like an Epstein protector or whatever. But like, who has he debated so far?
He really just echoes Dershowitz's talking points, and they're really bad. It's a very easy argument to deconstruct. But I'm like, whoa, wait. Now you want me to do this, right? Like, why? Why I took all the heat and I get none of the credit. So why should I jump in and get rid of these kind of people? Like, you guys that call yourselves the experts and stuff, why don't you argue with them? And of course, they suck at it. You can ask Sully about it. He listened to him. So
yeah, I know.
anyway, I got kids at the playground staring at me. So
yeah, no worries, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. With one of the things he does a lot is he goes after who was it again? Virginia Dufresne as one of the. I know that's one of the main things he goes after is he goes after the credibility.
She was exonerated. Like, the school she got abused at was shut down for abuse. Epps that did rape her was thrown in jail for trafficking people out of Czech Republic. Like, everything she said checked out. And you want to call her a liar. Like, she never said that her car accident caused her kidney failure. She said the car accident made her go to the hospital, and that's something they discovered because she went to the hospital. Serendipitously, they figured it out about her renal failure. Like, all the stuff she said was true, because you see these people get caught after the fact, and it lines up. And like, a little kid didn't make that up. She was exonerated about the Dubins too. It's corroborated by Epstein's own employees and da. So they're like, oh, these girls are liars and crazy. And I'm like, no, they're not. You can take it one thing at a time and show how she was verified. But they expect you just not to know all this stuff. So they just like, well, she said that. Fucking just disgusting, protecting rapists and stuff. I'm like, well, 14 to 17 is not a pedophile. I'm like, yeah, it is. And in Florida, the age of consent is 18. And if you're having sex with a 52-year-old, that's added labacious charges on that anyway. Even if it's not sex, even if you just look at their vagina, that's already against the law for a 52-year-old and a 14-year-old. You fucking monsters. I can't believe, like, oh no, there was no commercial sex trafficking at all. Like, really? Because the Deutsche Bank and JP Morgan lawsuits have hundreds of victims who got paid hundreds of millions of dollars. And that, you don't think JP Morgan has lawyers and things on their side that could argue against these lying, crazy women? Like, get fucking bent. I'm getting triggered. I gotta go.
All right, man. No worries, dude.
Appreciate you coming on as always, Ryan.
Yeah, Suleiman, you've hosted a couple of debates with him and people, right?
Yeah. Tracy's obviously I know people get triggered with Tracy, but I've never got. I think my audience is pretty chill. Like, they're used to dissenting opinions.
Yeah, what like, because I know people look at him as like a pedo protector and shit like that. And is he Jewish?
No.
Okay. But that would have been even funnier. But
I mean, to be honest, with Tracy, like, look, obviously I know a lot of people get triggered by him. I know how his mind works. His mind works in this kind of like, he's very like, I don't know it's like autistic. And so what he does is in my view, when I see him debate, I think he's just handled every single person he's debated. And the reason is because what Tracy's done, which nobody else has done, and he destroyed, like, Whitney Webb and him had a back and forth, and she was literally like, oh, I'm going through stress. You know how chicks are, right?
Yeah. When did this happen?
This was via communication, via email. And then basically Tracy posted it. And then she was like, oh, I was going through stress and I was forgetting things or whatever. She was coming up with some lame excuse.
What the fuck? So she's a little weird, man. Like I don't know what it is with her. Like, people invite her to shows and she just doesn't show up. Like, she doesn't show up. She doesn't like take invites. Like, great opportunities. Like, she's got some like really good looks. I invited her on the show. I know a bunch of other podcasts are invited on, and like she just doesn't take opportunities, bro. I don't know what the fuck is wrong.
I'm not confident that she's. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say it, but I do. I mean, I agree with Ryan. I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan's right and she just took his stuff, because how come under any kind of minimal level of rigorous questioning she kind of just completely fumbles? And that normally happens if you haven't done the research yourself. Like if you've done the research yourself, you can literally answer most questions.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah. So with Tracy, I think what he's done, which I think most people haven't done, is he's read all the documents. And so because he's read all the documents, he's already kind of ahead of the curve of most other people.
He definitely has. He definitely read the AUSA stuff. I'll tell you that, because the fact that he said that Virginia Giuffre was not a credible witness, that tells me he read the trial and the discovery shit.
Yeah,
He
he
knows what he's doing. Yeah.
He's read most of the stuff. So normally when he's debating someone, he's already read the stuff and they haven't. So he's always got one up against them. And what he does is he hones in on specific points. And so he'll be like, oh, guess what? There's no evidence for under 14 or under 13. And so whenever he's come on the space with me, I've always cornered him on specific points, because I think that's the best way of dealing with him, because he knows more than, like, for example, me, I don't know the issue at all. So, but the minimal, I'll hone in on that issue, because that way you can make him concede. But generally speaking, with Tracy, I've just seen him smash everyone, to be honest. Only when him and Ryan had a small.
Very specific then.
Yeah, he just knows his stuff. So when someone hops from point to point to point, he can just smash them. The only way to deal with Tracy is to be very box him into something.
Yeah.
And what it is with
that's
him, the
way to
only
go, is be
person that.
specific.
Sorry?
You have to, no. I said with him, he has to be specific, because he's going into a very controversial topic, and so obviously, like, when you've read the documents and you know what you're talking about, yeah, you obviously have to be very specific.
Yeah, because like he'll be say to you, like you'll say, oh, guess what? Epstein was a child thingy, and he'll be like, okay, which child did he do? And you'll be like, X, and be like, no, that wasn't a child. Then you'll be like, oh, but X person. You'll be like, no, but that wasn't a child. There's no evidence. The cop rejected that person. Do you get it? So he's more in that kind of thing. So though, like most people, because they don't know the topic that well, or they've not researched it in detail, they kind of get stuck against him. But Ryan and him did debate on my space for like 30 minutes. It wasn't really a debate. It was like 30 minutes before Ryan had to head off. That one, Ryan did better than him. But then Ryan was like, oh, I need to go. So I can't really say, because Ryan was like, didn't stay. But for the 30 minutes that there was, Ryan was handling him quite well.
Yeah. I mean, because the thing is that because what's his argument? You said that his main argument is he'll say it wasn't no children that were proven.
His is like there's no children. The one girl was like 17 years, 355 days. The other 14-year-old on the first case, that he never pleaded guilty to that, so that was never part of the plea agreement. That was never part of the plea agreement, so that was just some randomer. So that's
he's a technicality kind of guy. I see what he's doing. Yeah. So he'll make the argument that technically none of them were kids that were teenagers. So I see what you're saying. Like, and he'll say, prove it. He'll say, okay, what court document do you have that proves it was I see. He's one of those. Yeah. Fair. I mean, touche. Because you have to know your facts to do that, and he gets them on technicalities like that. Because we all know, right? Colloquially, we're like, yo, it's underage, it's a kid. Like, what the fuck are you doing? But he will go ahead and be extremely literally like, oh well, technically they're not a kid because they're teenagers. They've experienced. He'll make some argument like they've experienced.
No, so his thing is this, like, okay, he's like, okay, it's a kid, but it's like the one kid that Epstein ever took a plea agreement for was a 17 years, 355 days old. So it's 1 day before she was 18. So if you're saying he's a pedophile because he did it to someone 1 day before 18, when a lot of countries allow that anyway, then that's just stupid as his argument. Like, okay, he's a pedophile, but not really.
Yeah. I've seen people take that line of arguing before.
Because like, for example, in the UK it's 16, isn't it? The age of consent.
Yeah, it is. And in a lot of states in America, it's it's 16 as well, 15, 16, 17. But they would make the argument that it was federal, because the thing with Epstein that fucked him up was he took them to multiple places and traveled around the U.S. So automatically that's gonna, you're obviously flying, so that's gonna affect interstate commerce. So the feds automatically come in, and obviously that's gonna be 18. So that's
if he did though, because I don't know about the one in Florida, if he did that or not. I'm not sure.
The flew them around.
Yeah. So this is the point. Like Tracy would be like, "Oh, but where did you get the fluid? There's nowhere to get it." I don't know the Epstein case in detail. I've only ever hosted quite a few spaces.
Well, I'm
on it,
saying
but-
I'm explaining why the feds like felt that they had jurisdiction, and then also using phones, traveling, having them travel to different locations. That's what gave the feds like jurisdiction to investigate it. Is what I mean.
Okay, and I'm
Like they don't need like proof that it actually like they don't need like concrete proof. Like I'm saying, like this is what allowed them to open up the investigation in the first place and give them jurisdiction. Like Diddy, for example, I'll give you a perfect example. Like with Diddy, so funny story with Diddy. No one knows it. Well, people know it if you went to the trial. But when it comes to Diddy, right, he never actually fucked with underage like kids. At least in the trial, when I was there, like it didn't come out that he like fucked with underage kids. At least from all the testimony I saw. The thing that fucked him up was that he had Cassie having sex with him and then also having sex with escorts. But here's the problem. He flew the male escorts in to wherever he was at. So he would fly these male escorts from like New York to LA, Miami, Vegas, etc. So in Atlanta. So anytime he was there doing freak offs with Cassie, he had like a crew of like 20 or 30 escorts that he would use from this service, I guess. And he would fly them in. And Cassie would do all the arrangements, interestingly enough. Cassie would call them, Cassie would pay them, Cassie would cover all their shit, she would do all the logistics, right? And what ended up happening with Diddy was he was looking at human trafficking charges, right? He was looking at federal human trafficking charges. But what ended up happening was they couldn't get him on the human trafficking charges because they were able to prove that like Cassie was kind of intimately involved in like all the planning and everything else like that. And her stories didn't check out, as well as the other witnesses. Like a lot of it was very consensual. So he ended up getting convicted for 2 counts of interstate transportation of prostitutes, which were male prostitutes. So Diddy right now, as we speak, is doing Fed time for ordering male prostitutes to fuck his girlfriend, which is a crazy L. To do Fed time for being a cuck is nuts. But yeah, that's actually what he's doing jail time for.
That's hilarious.
Fun fact, yeah. Yeah, the freak offs and all that shit was completely super sensationalized or whatever. The freak offs were basically like none of it was party related. He would like it was super private. He'd have these dudes come to the hotel. They'd have sex with Cassie. He would sit there and watch. Sometimes he'd join in or not, and he would just watch it, and then he'd pay them, and then that's it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that's kind of what happened when it came to the whole Diddy situation, which is very interesting. But yeah.
Yeah, I remember you covered that in detail. You went to the trial, right?
Yeah, I was sitting there, dude. I listened to Cassie's testimony. Like, she's a whore, bro. Holy fuck, man. She's a huge slut. That's another reason too why like the human trafficking charges like didn't really go. Like first she said that like Diddy raped her and shit like that, but then like she went and hung out with him like 2 weeks later. Like she claimed that he had raped her, like in Malibu after they had dinner. And then like 2 weeks later she was having sex with him, and like her boyfriend at the time called her and she like ignored the FaceTime call. And this all came out during testimony. Like the boyfriend got pissed off and walked out the courtroom, bro. It was nuts. It was literally fucking crazy.
Is he still with her?
Yeah, it's her husband now. But he ain't gonna leave because she got like $30 million. I think Diddy gave her 20 and she got another 10 from Intercontinental Hotel. So she got like 30 million from all this bullshit.
That's crazy.
Yeah, dude, absolutely nuts. And the 10 million she got from Intercontinental, the hotel, that was the hotel where she got thrown on the floor. If you guys remember the infamous CCTV footage, that 10 million that she got, that came out in court. Nobody knew. Nobody knew that she got that 10 million. So when that came out of court, that was huge, dude. Huge. Because her Diddy's lawyers were very smart. They were very good. Like they went ahead and they like did their research and shit, and they confronted her in court with it. And they did it like towards the end. So like that was what the jury left with, is that like she got 10 million that she didn't really like disclose. So they had to ask her under oath, and they asked her a bunch of leading questions, and then she eventually like, yeah, I settled with Intercontinental, and they said for how much? She said 10 million. Bruh, the whole crowd, the whole audience, because it was packed in there, dude. Like everyone in there, like when I was there was multiple courtrooms filled. Like multiple courtrooms. Like not everybody could fit in the main courtroom. So they had like 4 or 5 different courtrooms filled with journalists, dude, from all over the world. And the whole courtroom was like, oh shit. I don't know if anybody else is trying to talk, but someone
No,
else
no,
can
it was
yap
just
now.
you. It was just you. There are, no, it's just you, Myron. So
Okay,
just
okay.
so in how do you? I mean, bro, it's gonna be crazy the next couple of days. It is gonna be crazy because remember the oil prices are gonna fly up. The oil market is closed right now. So once it opens tomorrow at 6 p.m., I think it's gonna go above 115.
Yeah, it might. That him threatening the power plants was not good.
I mean,
I think
that's,
it's sitting at the last I looked, it's sitting at 112 or 109, somewhere in that range.
yeah, I believe so. It's, I mean, I haven't looked at the exact one, but I believe it's between 1.9 and 1.11. But the point is, it's remember he's done this when the market is closed, so the market opens tomorrow. Obviously, so they've not priced in this possible like energy crisis that could occur. Like once that gets priced in, I presume it's gonna go well above 115.
Yeah. I mean, it hit almost 120 the other day, and then it came down again.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah, and the crazy part is that it's sitting well over 100 with all the with the 400 barrels of strategic reserves, all that shit, dude. That's the crazy part to me. Is like it's still sitting super high with all of the stuff that we're trying to do to fix the problem,
including the sanctions relief on Iran.
Yeah, and the Russian relief too. So 400 million barrels of oil, sanction relief. Sanction lifted for oil on Iran, on Russia, and it's still sitting at well over $100, right? I don't even use WTI. I always use Brent as mine because honestly, American oil doesn't like. Okay, great, it's $100 American, but like the reality is we go off the world market. Like that's what's like the gas prices are going up no matter what, even though WTI staying under 100 has been fairly like 100 to 98. It's still going up no matter what.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. Like
yeah, WTI is bullshit.
Yeah, the world price is the one you need to go at.
Yeah.
And like Simon was saying, that if it goes up above 115 and stays above there for more than a week, like that's definitely like a global recession going towards a depression.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Simon said if we sit at $80 for 3 weeks, it's a serious problem. So, bro, we're cooked. Like, he literally said if we sit at $80 for 3 weeks, we got some serious issues. So I can only imagine, like, I mean, this is why Trump is doing all this fucking, tweeting on True Social. This is why Pete Hegseth is doing a fucking press conference like every other day. Like, they know that this is an issue, bro. They know. Like, I have never seen Pete Hegseth do this many press conferences from the fucking Pentagon, dude, ever.
Yeah, and he still sounds like he's losing his mind and he's on coke. By the way, there's another attack on Israel right now. Holon has been hit as well.
What's been hit?
Holon is near Tel Aviv.
Oh, shit. So they're bombing Tel Aviv again.
Yeah. They don't let them up. They don't let up on those guys, man.
It's kind of crazy because I was going through your page and I was looking at all the damage, man. And the Israelis are doing a pretty good job of like containing it with their censorship.
Oh yeah, for sure. The only reason we got this was because so what they've got is they've got mass censorship mainly in Tel Aviv. And the bigger cities. So Tel Aviv, Haifa. Because remember, that's what was it in the 12-day war. So these smaller cities or smaller towns or whatever you want to call them, Dimona, what was hit today. Basically, both of them, they haven't got their whole censorship structure. That's why we got the images straight away.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. Because Dimona didn't have, because they never hit Dimona, so they didn't have a structure in place for them to censor, and they probably didn't know Dimona was going to get hit. So that's a good point.
Well, this is because the interesting thing about Dimona is this. So with the other town that was hit, Arat, you could say it's a small town. They didn't have the censorship, and maybe they weren't trying to defend it as well, because you got to be tactical on where you use your defense interceptor missiles, right?
Yeah, of course.
So that one you can make that excuse and say, look, they didn't have the defense interceptor missiles and they didn't have censorship. That's why we got the videos out. But Dimona debunks all that because Dimona is so important to them. It's more important to them than Tel Aviv has already got their nuclear capability there. They're gonna have defense interceptor missiles there. And actually, there's a video where a defense interceptor missile attempts to go to stop the missile, fails, and the missile hits. So the main point from that is they basically didn't have censorship there. And they did have defense interceptor missiles, and it got hit. So what that tells you is they're getting hit, they're trying to defend and it's failing, because Dimona would have been more there would have been more of a ability or more of an attempt to defend Dimona than anywhere else. So they're getting hit. It's clearly censored, and Dimona is the evidence of that because they just didn't have the censorship structure of it.
Yeah. No, I mean, that makes sense, man. They're getting cooked. They're getting cooked, and we're going to see what happens because this is definitely no bueno.
Bro, I just can't believe how Iran's just literally got the United States of America and Israel on its knee. It's crazy. And the Arab countries.
This is such a fucking stupid war, man. This war is like fucking retarded. In my head, I'm just like, why the fuck are we doing this shit, man?
It's the end of the U.S. empire.
You know, some people said that, dude. When some people said that when they saw the F-35 get shot down, that they looked at it like this is the end of the U.S. empire, which, you know, I'm like, I don't know about that, but, you know, it definitely isn't good. I'll tell you that.
So it's the end of the U.S. empire because the entire defense of the Middle East just got absolutely destroyed. The F-35 is basically you would say in a real world where Arabs weren't cooked, which they are, it would be the end of the American military-industrial complex because we knew that the F-35 wasn't that good, but obviously the world didn't think so. They were getting people to pay up hardly, right, for the F-35.
Yeah, like $80 million, right, for one.
Exactly. So they were just scamming people. We knew the F-35s weren't good, and we know the American military-industrial complex isn't as good as it should be. So the problem you've got is with America, and this has been the problem for a while, why America was the best in the world was because of capitalism. It was this idea that like you can create a product, I can create a product, we'll compete, and whichever the best product is will win out, right? And America, that's why they always had the best products. But with the corporations basically taking over and controlling the US government, they've had such a monopoly in every single area. It's become where America was the best for innovation is literally at the bottom end now, where it just rides on his past, on the coattails of his past history. So the fact that like Raytheon and Lockheed Martin are basically have monopoly over the entire industry means they don't have to create the best products. And that's what's been happening. They've not been creating the best products. It's been horrible products they've been creating. The F-35 had major issues with it right from the start. And this is why China's advancing, because China is the other way around. The country owns the corporation. So the corporations just know that they need to create the best products anyway, because if they don't, the country will just throw them out. So the entire American model is just completely messed up. And this is why they're failing. So it's the end of the American empire, and it should be the end of the American military industrial complex. But the only thing that stops it is the Arabs are so cooked that even though it's crap tech, they just to keep the Americans happy, just because they don't want to be under their boot, they'll just continue buying it. And hence why I believe that, is it today or yesterday, they're putting off ordering for, what is it, like 12 billion or 22 billion more dollars worth of military industrial equipment from America.
Yeah, I mean, Lockheed Martin definitely took a hit. I saw their stock go down a little bit, obviously from the alleged shoot down. I mean, I think they.
But then it would have went back up, right? Because I'm assuming it went back up, and the reason it went back up
a little bit.
Well, the reason it's going to go up is because whatever the situation is, if America continues on in this war, they're going to be making back. So any kind of escalation, I mean, if what you're predicting happens, I mean, Lockheed Martin is going to make back.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens. You know, I definitely think they're going to probably get dinged a little bit off of the F-35 news getting shot, because I noticed that American media didn't report it, dude. I noticed like it was only like Hindustan Times and Reuters, like only international media companies really reported it, but American media didn't really report it. Fox News did like a little story on it, but like they didn't go into detail about it, because like they didn't speculate any of that shit. They just said, "Oh yeah, well yeah, I got shot down." Blah blah. They didn't talk about the pilot being in stable condition, dude. If it really like, how the fuck? Because from what I understand, you guys were saying yesterday that a search and rescue team came out looking for it.
Yeah. I put a post out. So some other guy found some other guy tweeted the actual evidence of the search and rescue, and I just quote tweeted him and was like, evidence that is being destroyed or something. I think it got like 500,000 or 1 million views. But the point is, yeah, the evidence is out there that they did a search and rescue looking for it, and they just couldn't find it.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Do we and the pilot, if he was like, you know, actually nothing happened to him, we would. Well, they said he's stable. He's probably in bad condition.
But which pilot though? Because there was 2 F-35 planes, right?
Well, yeah, they only made it sound like it was a singular. Probably on
there's
purpose.
so there's one that basically got taken out, and they were looking for it and they couldn't find it. Then there's a second one that was hit, but it managed to crash land. And then that one, the pilot obviously likely survived. So I'm guessing that's the one you're talking about, the second one, but I have no idea.
Yeah, they were that from what I understand, they just said pilot. They didn't mention like any plural. They just said pilot in a singular fashion.
Yeah, I'm presuming it'll be the second one because that one crash landed in one of the Arab countries.
Yeah. Did you see what's it called? Robert Pape went on Breaking Points, and he like kind of gave an estimate that what's it called? A ground invasion is imminent.
I didn't see that, but my own sources, as well as Daniel Davis, and he's been on point as well, and my sources have been on point, say that it's confirmed ground invasion's happening. But
Yeah.
it's the ground invasion to Karg Island that is going to happen.
Yeah.
To the Strait.
Yeah, and I just don't foresee them. I don't know why the fuck. Oh, I should have asked Ryan that. I don't know what the strategic benefit is of doing that.
So their argument is this. I mean, from their perspective, but this won't work, but I'm just telling you their process of what they're thinking and what the motive is behind it.
Yeah.
So they're thinking we take Karg Island, Iran won't destroy the oil infrastructure because it'll take years and years to rebuild.
Okay.
And based on that, what'll happen is that'll reduce Iran's oil by 50%.
Okay.
And then we have leverage to say, look, we'll give you Karg Island back and we'll give you your oil back open the strait.
Okay.
So that's
interesting.
So that's their reasoning, what I understand. Because I always try and look at it like, what's the reason why someone's doing it? So that's their reasoning, but I mean, it's just stupid, isn't it? Because they're gonna get massacred.
Yeah, because they might not even make it to that point.
Well, yeah, exactly. They're not gonna. Well,
like, that's crazy risk, man.
So
that's like a crazy risk.
So I mean, I think they might still make it there, right? I know a lot of people think they won't make it to the island. I think there's like, if I had to guess, and you said Suleiman, what percentage? I think there's 65% chance they make it to the island. I know everyone else is like, oh, they're gonna get wiped out before they even get there. I don't think so. I think they can get there. Where they're gonna fail is to try and hold the island, so that's where they're gonna get smashed out.
Yeah, holding is gonna be crazy. I mean, and I know that's what they do is like, they do holding and containment, but dude, trying to hold back like a full-on military, and you're not home base, like that's insane. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah, they're gonna struggle. But remember, they're under the impression. So just from the American side, so they're under the impression that there's only 1,000 Iranian soldiers who are dispersed throughout the island. So they think that like just by coming in, it's gonna be easy pickings for them.
Yeah.
But that's based on old intelligence from the 80s. From what I understand, there's a lot more people there, and they've got a lot more, let's say, underground bunkers and stuff in the island. So the Americans are going to be in for a surprise of what they're all going up against. And I mean, the Iranians have told my sources in Iran have told me, and Professor Morandi said this as well to me, that basically, like, they take Karg Island, Iran's going to just take the hit and just destroy the oil infrastructure and like take out all the Americans.
Shit. Okay. No, that's crazy, man. We've been yapping a lot. Does anyone else have anything? Because I was going to get out of here soon.
Let's see who's here. Andy, jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I really think Trump is going to do something stupid. I mean, he's under a lot of pressure. I mean, just his posts on social media are so erratic. I really think he is dumb enough to hit the power plants. And you even have some people that were big Trump supporters, someone like Cernovich, who's even like quote tweeting like some of the posts about it from like the White House Rapid Response, saying like bombing power plants, ? Like even some people that were pretty well on the Trump train before this war are now saying like this is a bad idea, which I find interesting. Like some people are finally turning against Trump. Like Epstein wasn't enough to do it, but like people seeing the economic realities are like, yeah, this is not good. So you finally see some.
Yeah, I voted for Trump, and even me, I'm like, yeah, this is fucking retarded.
Well, I mean, we kind of
mean?
turned on Trump. Yeah, same. Yeah, I mean, we turned on Trump before this. I'm talking about some of the even more hardcore people like Cernovich are starting to turn. So like the MAGA base is completely collapsing with this. I mean, if this happens, the gas is gonna shoot up past records. Like if 20% of the world's oil is destroyed for years, we're gonna be looking at $7-8 a gallon. So yeah, I mean, we could be talking about a historic midterm defeat at that point, and MAGA will be completely dead and buried. I mean, Trump won't even be able to justify that to his most devout cult members at that point. And
well, not even that. JD Vance is cooked too. He did you see he's not going to run?
yeah, I saw that. And Rubio's cooked too. He's the Secretary of State and shelled this war. So good luck for him trying to run. People could be like, bro, you are pushing this war and talking about how great it is. Like,
Yeah.
screw you, Rubio. That's why I'm hoping we get Tucker or Massey, someone who's authentically against this.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's really bad, man.
Yeah, and
It's
I mean, Trump literally, I mean, obviously he's blackmailed in some way, and he literally thought that, oh, we're just going to kill the Ayatollah. Okay, let's say that succeeded and the country collapsed. Then you'd have a 90 million person failed state. I mean, that's the whole argument when Ted Cruz was on Tucker last summer. Do you even know the ethnic makeup? Do you even know how many people are in Iran? He's like, no. And then Tucker's like, it's 90 million people. Exactly. You'd have the biggest failed state in history. Then you'd have millions of Muslim refugees going to Europe, which isn't that what all of these people don't want? Isn't the whole point of MAGA that they don't want the Muslims in the West? So they wanted to collapse Iran, destabilize the Middle East, and then bring more Muslims into Europe. Like, MAGA's logic is completely dumb. It wouldn't result if they got what they wanted, it would have collapsed into a civil war. There was never going to be, okay, the government falls and then there's just a peaceful transfer of power. It would have been complete chaos. There's different ethnic factions, and it would have just been completely horrific. I mean,
They've
it would
already
have
displaced 1 million Lebanese people. They've already displaced 1 million Iranians, and the Lebanese, they're not letting them go back. Like they've already said that they don't have a right to return. I mean, so as we're fighting their war, they're like, let's go take this land. What'd you say?
No. I was gonna say the reason why so many because people say like, why don't the Lebanese want to leave South Lebanon? Because they know what the Israelis are gonna do.
exactly.
Like,
They know it's going to
they're
be
gonna take
Gaza
their land.
2.0. It's going to be Gaza
Yeah,
2.0. And we
It's
cannot let
literally
it
gonna
happen.
be insane, dude.
I have a
Insane.
theory with this. What if Netanyahu wants a multi-year ground war in Lebanon and he's going to pull a Zelensky? We're at war. I can't hold an election, and he's going to try to postpone elections for a few years like Zelensky. Could you see that being his play
For Netanyahu or Trump?
for Netanyahu?
Oh, Netanyahu's 100% gonna use it to stay in power. 100%.
Not for Trump. Trump's going to be 82 and his brain's
Yeah,
going
he's
to be
out.
completely
Yeah, he's
mushed.
out of there.
Yeah, Trump's not going to be able to do that. His brain will be completely mushed by then anyways.
Yeah, he's gonna be 100% cooked. But the other guys, yeah. Netanyahu is 100% gonna use that for his advantage.
Which is why they need the American ground invasion, so missiles aren't raining down on Israel, so they can focus on actually doing the ground invasion into Lebanon. They can't do a full ground invasion when they're getting missiles raining down on them. So they need us, the Goyim, sacrificed in Iran, so the missiles aren't raining down on Israel.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what do you guys, is this normal for all these, the people in the administration to all be living in like military bases? I mean, most of them, like the Hegseth, Bondi, Rubio, they all, and more, live in military bases. And then one of them went on lockdown on March 9th, which I thought was really interesting.
It's probably safer for them and like cheaper because they might not qualify for Secret Service protection for some of them. So
I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
that
that's definitely cheaper.
why.
That's definitely cheaper to say, okay, you're going to live on a military base, then okay, we have to pay for 8 agents to guard your home. That is definitely cheaper.
I didn't even think about that. That's a good point.
Yeah, and that's unprecedented during Gulf War, any other Gulf War. We never saw this happen before. And also, they kicked out those that they go to Admiral's Row. We used to call it the naval bases, but they go to flag quarters and high officer quarters. That means they've kicked military families out.
Do you guys?
Yeah, I mean that's the only thing I could think of is like a combination of like, hey, maybe we can't give you Secret Service protection, or I mean, I would argue that cabinet level probably does get like protection. They probably just don't want to deal with the hassle, though, bro. They probably just don't want to deal with the hassle of having to wake up with protesters possibly at their houses or whatever. Because I know Pam Bondi makes a bunch of money. Pam Bondi's fucking wealthy. She was getting paid like 100 to like $200K a month from the Qataris as a consultant. So she definitely has some dough. So I'm not sure what happened there, but some of the other guys probably just don't want to deal with the hassle and then potentially not being able to qualify for protection. Like Stephen Miller probably doesn't qualify for Secret Service protection. So for him, it's probably cheaper than hiring private security. Just live on a base.
That makes sense. So what do you guys think? Before you go, I'm curious, like, do you think there'll be a false flag on US oil with the drones and all the stuff that's been, I don't know, put all over the media? We saw one where the press secretary said that they needed to remove it. I think it was ABC News. But there have been so many like sightings of these weird things going on in the sky with like the fireballs, and then there was drones in Louisiana, and they put the whole military base there on lockdown. To me, it's just I have a hard time believing that you guys don't know, with the airspace that we have, and the surveillance that we have, even from satellite images, like they have no idea where these drones are coming from. I don't know. I'm just kind of worried about that. What do you think, Myron?
You know, I mean, everything is going to be suspicious now at this point. So, the American people have really lost trust in the government after 9/11 is really what it comes down to, which is kind of sad because, government trust is at its lowest, that it's ever been, I would argue. So just no bueno all across, man. Just no bueno all across. But anyone else can go ahead and feel free to chime in.
Hey, Myron, I was going to check. Did you hear anything about the 82nd Airborne Division that is likely going to be flying in?
Yeah, I did hear Ryan thinks they're all going to get killed.
So what I've been told is there's a good chance they might look at that. Yeah, I hope not. Yeah, that's not ideal in general. It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea what they're trying to do in general.
I will take to the streets if that fucking happens. Like if that happens, like I am taking to the streets and saying fuck Donald Trump. Like I'm gonna be vocal. If we actually start getting like some real casualties like that, that's the only thing I can do at that point, because it's like what the fuck, man. So
Well, I've been hearing that there's a chance that they might choose a specific area. There's this Sistan and Baluchistan region, and apparently the U.S. has proxies in that area that might specifically be a bit safer. It apparently borders Pakistan and Afghanistan.
Yeah, you're talking about the Balochs and the Jundullah and those fucking guys.
Yeah, they have proxies there, right?
Yeah.
Have you've heard about them?
Yeah, I'm very familiar. Actually, funny story. The Balochs, right, actually tried to do, oh my God, the Israelis are so fucking, so check this out. Back in like the Bush era, Israeli operatives, aka Mossad, used U.S. passports and met with Baloch members and armed them with weapons and told them, hey, look, I know you guys probably want to attack people because like they're like in fringes, right? But they paid them money and gave them resources to attack Tehran directly. And the Balochs knew that they weren't Americans and knew something was off. So they thought that they were potentially Israelis, but they went ahead with the attack anyway because they got the weapons and arms that they wanted to go ahead and attack Iran. Obviously, they got busted. IRGC captured them, etc. And the leader admitted all this and said that it was Israelis. And this was back during like the Bush era, and Bush found out about this like towards the end of his term. Obviously, he didn't do anything or talk about it because like obviously the Israelis run America, but like think about the ramifications of that. You got Israeli operatives from Mossad posing as Americans, using American passports, claiming they're from NATO, right? Meeting with a terrorist organization to get a false flag attack on Iran, and presumably to, blame it on the, if the attack was successful, to blame it on the Americans. And the Iranians actually believed it was the Americans. They blamed the Americans, they blamed the British, they blamed all of them. And they're like, no, well, this is not us. What the hell is going on here? And then it wasn't until they interviewed the Baloch guys, the head Baloch guy, that he admitted, like, hey, we think it was Israelis actually, from the pattern that they gave us, where we met them, because they met at some other areas that weren't NATO friendly, and they thought this is kind of weird. Why don't we just meet in a NATO base or some shit like that if you guys are actually Americans? So they didn't meet in any safe locations for NATO, which also had raised their red flags, but they didn't care because they had the arms that they wanted and they wanted to take out the regime. But if you actually like look at that, like, holy shit, our greatest ally is trying to get us into a war with the Iranians, right? Could you imagine if the attack went through and then they actually thought it was Americans? That'd be nuts. That planned out terrorist attack. So yeah, man, that's what the Israelis do. So yeah, the Balochs obviously have always had beef. I don't know if Jundullah is still in existence. I think they have another organization now. Let me look.
Yeah, they have an offshoot apparently,
It's like
like
the
a
BAL,
Jaish
right?
al-Adl or something like that.
I think it's called the Balok Liberation Organization or some shit like that, or Liberation Front, BLA. Let me look here. Okay, the
Well,
Balochistan Liberation Army, BLA. Yeah, yeah. And I saw them killing some Pakistanians the other day.
yeah, so that's the idea. And apparently they have this like fake rivalry with the Afghans, with the Taliban, which of course the Taliban is, I'm not saying like they're best friends with the West, obviously, but they're much more in alignment than they were maybe 10 years ago. So apparently, they've got some safe harbor, if you will, for the 82nd Airborne, and that might be the position in which they fly in on. Yeah, last year they had a bit of I think they had a few issues with Iran actually because I don't know the divide between like Sunni and Shia too well. I'm not sure exactly what explains it, but apparently the Balochs are going to be a major factor for providing coverage and help for Iran, and they've been a problem that the U.S. have been planting in that region for a while.
Yeah, so I'm
But that
looking
would
right
but that would
now.
probably be. Oh, go
Jundalaw's
sorry.
out. No, I was gonna say I'm looking right now. Jundallah was disbanded in 2012, which makes sense because their main guy died. But yeah, it looks like the Balochistan Liberation Army is the new gang now.
Yes, that's what they're called. Yes, exactly. Yeah, but that seems like it seems like that would be the safest area for them to enter anyway. It doesn't seem like Pakistan is too vigilant of that particular region, and apparently there's a lot more forces that Iran has concentrated more along the southern shoreline. Whereas Karg Island itself, it's literally deep in the recesses of the Persian Gulf. So I'm sure you've already talked about how ridiculously like unfeasible this mission is in the first place. But at least for 82nd Airborne, they might have a bit of a better chance in sticking around, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but regardless, this is a bloodbath suicide mission. And I've watched a couple of different like military analysts, between Colonel McGregor, Scott Ritter, Colonel Greg Mersheimer, John Mersheimer, Daniel Davis, like all these guys are like, this shit's a fucking suicide mission, dude, which is, it makes sense. Like, what are you doing? Like you're like invading a country like this, especially with a competent military. Like the IRGC is no joke, man. And then we didn't even count the Artesh, which is like their actual army, which is like hundreds of thousands. I mean, this is nuts, dude. This is absolutely a suicide mission. It's retarded, but people are
Hey,
stupid, so it is what it is.
do you think like the Europe stuff? Do you think some of that it might be kayfabe as far as like their reluctance and I don't really want to. We don't want to send ships there, and this is bad. And do you think like that might be a little bit of a farce? And I ask that only because the ballistic missile apparently that Iran was able to send supposedly to Diego Garcia, they came out and said that it wasn't actually them who sent it. So this could have been potentially a false flag and more so stage setting for a pretense of giving themselves the pretense to be able to go in and say, all right, well, Iran's an aggressor. Now we're just going to go in and send our ships. It seems like they're kind of playing around, but what do you think?
I don't know. I haven't heard reports that it was like a false flag like that. I haven't heard that. I'll do some more research and figure it out.
Today, Iran denied, or I think yesterday, Iran denied the sending of that intermediate range ballistic missile. Apparently, they said it wasn't them.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That was pretty
Yeah,
weird.
they talked a bit. It was yesterday. Yeah, I don't know if you heard about that, Byron. The Iran said, nope, it wasn't us.
Okay, that's interesting because I will tell you this: they've taken credit for everything else. Some things that they didn't actually even do, they've taken credit for. So I don't think at this point they would pull back anything to show that they can do things. So if they said that they didn't do it, I don't know, man. Fog of war, bro. Fog of war. So who knows what's going on?
But do you think they'll be able to stay out of it, like as far as Europe or what do you think?
Europe, I don't think they're going to get involved. I think Tony Blair getting involved in the Iraqi war, and I think Suleiman could talk to you about this. He can mention it. It was wildly unpopular that they got involved in the Iraqi war. So I think England is even more fed up with foreign wars in the Middle East than we are. You know what I mean? So, the last major terrorist attack they had was. I'm trying to think here. Was it the double-decker bus? July?
Was it Ariana Grande when that guy blew himself up? Ariana Grande? Was that over there?
I don't know. I know the French also attacked. There was a French attack as well. But either way, Tony Blair's involvement in the Iraqi war was incredibly unpopular in England. So I just don't foresee England getting involved in it. England recognized Palestine, dude. Like England is totally, they're not trying to, they have a little bit more of a spine than the United States when it comes to the Israelis. They have a little bit more. I know they're still owned by the Jews too, but them, France, etc. And granted, let's be honest here. They only recognize Palestine as pressure on the Israelis to bring the food in because there was a blockade and they were actually starving them. And both the UK and France didn't want to be like supportive of that. So they obviously recognize Palestine more from a symbolic angle to not be looked at as involved with Israel's genocide and starving of people. But still, regardless, like they recognize Palestine, which is like fucking huge that they did that. Obviously Netanyahu lost his mind, but yeah, I just don't foresee the UK or France getting involved in a conflict like this. Like, I think they know that this is a huge fucking mistake by the US and they're realizing it now.
Also with the UK, it's a bit more complex because what you've got is, and the new, like, the Green Party, you guys have got Green Party as well with Jill Stein, but the Green Party in the UK just end up getting so much momentum, they're getting better votes. For example, they won the last by-election and they beat Labour out, so the current government. So like in the UK, it's so weird that the new far left party and the new far right party are actually the top two parties, and the old Labour and Conservative are like basically getting no votes at all. So the far right party, which is Reform, support the war, support going into war. The far left party is against war. So Keir Starmer's kind of stuck in that regard. And then the far right party, the one that Musk supports, he just came out, even though before he was supporting the war, he came out not supporting this one. So like the entire UK political scheme is seen as a bit mishmash when it comes to this war. So I think Keir Starmer's kind of stuck where if he supports the war, he's already got so much civil unrest in the country, it would just be complete chaos. So it seems like that's why he's pulling back. But then today I saw that they'd sent some big military assets to the Middle East. What was it again? I think it was an a submarine that they sent. Let me just check again because I was looking at this.
I think a nuclear submarine to the Arabian Sea.
That's a nuclear powered submarine arrived in the Arabian Sea. Yeah, that's the UK sent. So the UK is not out of it; they're involved, but they're just not trying to get directly involved at this point.
Yeah, and Suleiman and folks, let me tell you, there's always Royal Navy nuclear submarines in patrol. That's so funny. We work together. I mean, literally for several years when I was working with the Royal Navy out of Faslane, Scotland. We work together. We even swap missions out. They take us, hey, you guys cover this spot for us. They're always 24. Our submarines are always 24/7 all over the world, scattered. Yeah, so that's just a big political move about the Royal Navy's going to send a nuclear submarine. Their submarines are always on patrol. And then real quick, Hal Moore, here's something that's really going to turn some stomachs here. This is when we really going to get black-pilled here. If any of you have ever seen the movie Once We Were Soldiers, that's the true story of Colonel Hal Moore when we dropped in our forces to have first engagement with the North Vietnamese Army. Is anyone familiar with that movie? It's pretty wrenching. But anyway, true story, they dumped our soldiers right in the middle of the North Vietnamese. There was equivalent of 3 divisions versus, I know this sounds sickening, but imagine over 3 North Vietnamese trained regular divisions plus in force. We dropped one equivalent of a couple rifle platoons with the air cav, dropped them right in the middle of that. The slaughter was so horrific. Please watch that movie. It's horrific. But the only thing that saved Colonel Moore, and he said it, was our air superiority. The air superiority. But the Vietnamese figured it out, so they did what's called hug the belt